Hello, friends. All right, I think we're good. For real, mate, are you serious? Says, oi. Hey, bestie. Says Stormio. Yo, yo, yo. Gaming. All right, we are all here. Let me know how the audio sounds. I can make adjustments as needed. But how are you all doing? This is like day 2, 3. I am currently at level 5 of the Battle Pass in all of these days of playing. I'm sure we have a lot to talk about when it comes to the progression system, but needless to say, it is not good. I currently am stuck still. I found a stockpile match, but I gotta find 2 more. So let's throw ourselves into the slot machine and see if we can get 2 more stockpile matches. We got Midnight in here. A Doom YouTuber. Howdy, howdy, Midnight. Might want to turn your gain down just a smidge. All right, how is this? New campaign gameplay was realist. Yeah, that campaign gameplay looked pretty good. If you could rework the progression system, how would you? I feel like it's the logical thing that everybody else is doing, where everyone's suggesting make it based off of your performance in a match. Like, you get a certain amount of medals, those contribute to your XP gains. Like, complete a match be a flat amount of XP, and then how you perform in that match stacks onto that. So the better the player, the more you're rewarded. Hey, Colby Payne is in here. Colby Payne, for those of you who don't know, this guy worked on the game. How are you doing, Colby? I saw that you were liking the game. Gameplay, they nailed it. We just need a better progression system. Yeah, gameplay-wise, it's good. Like, really good. It's not the classic Halo that I think can exist and would like to see someday, but what it is as a modern kind of like a reinvention of Halo, it's good, and I'm really happy that it's resonating with people. What platform are you playing this on? Currently on PC. All right. Let's grab this thing. And then we're going to go take the grav lift. I think a grav lift is up here anyway. No! Okay. That's pretty cool up there. Game feels and looks amazing. Yeah, so I've got a 4K HDR TV. It's really hard to explain. I said in Hidden Xperia stream yesterday that HDR is really hard to talk about since quick, describe the color orange to somebody. You can't really. You know, colors very much are almost like an exclusively visual thing. But HDR looks really good in this game. Like, already, I think the color palette of Halo Infinite is incredibly solid. The lighting and just color palette, there's a naturalism to it. But when you have this thing hooked up to an HDR TV, which just enhances colors even further, as well as lighting, like, Halo Infinite looks really good. It reminds me a lot, actually, of Halo 3 on the HDR TV, just in terms of how it handles lighting. You should be playing it on the Nintendo Switch. You know, it's funny that you say that, because I unironically want Halo Combat Evolved or something on the Switch. I don't know, man. You know, the MCC, I'd like to see it on the Switch. The Switch is a fun console. And the more people who can play Halo, the better. Yeah, that guy's trying to complete his Cinder Shot challenge. I'm stuck on that as well. Okay. What do you guys think of the weapon balancing so far? I am thoroughly impressed with the weapon sandbox so far at launch. Have you tried playing with mouse and keyboard? I have, actually. Mouse and keyboard on Big Team Battle, I actually think is a little bit better than Arena. Just because with Big Team Battle, you have a bit more breathing room. Yeah, that's right. We got to go collect those power seeds. In fact, one of the biggest letdowns of the progression system, I think, is that you do get like these little kind of like, I don't know what you'd call them, point rewards, I guess, for doing random things like assist capturing, and stuff. I wish that I could sit back and play a more support role where, of course, I'm not at the top of the scoreboard in terms of kills, but when it comes to assists, driver assists, and all of that stuff, like, I've got a pretty high score count, and that could contribute to XP gains at the end of the match. Kind of like Battlefield, almost. As a starting weapon, the AR is way too overpowered. Yeah, I do kind of agree there. You can definitely, I think, in Big Team Battle, you feel it a little bit less, but in Arena, I do notice that because of the size of the maps and the accuracy of the assault rifle, and the fact that you can't de-scope it either, you don't have a lot of breathing room. Because even if they're not killing you, the fact that they can pepper you from across the map constantly and consistently, like, it does kind of lead to this, like, feeling of just not being able to breathe because there's assault rifle spam coming from all directions. Okay. How fast do you think they could implement a new system? Well, okay, if we're talking about a new system like a completely new progression system that's based on your performance, kind of like the older Halo titles, what's tough about that is, like, this current battle pass, like, it's math. They had to sort out, like, the XP gains via math. They track how long a player would play for, what they would gain and stuff, and then the fact that the next season isn't coming till May, they designed it so that we would be playing this for a while and unlocking stuff for a while. So in order to create a new progression system, you'd have to get back to the whiteboard and start doing math calculations again. You'd have to basically invent a new economy, a new in-game XP economy. You'd need to kind of like figure out how much you would reward players based on their performance. You'd probably have to do testing. Then you'd have to start pulling in UI artists and stuff. You'd have to start pulling in animators. You'd have to probably also start getting the engineers so that they could, like, uproot some of the UI and start implementing those new assets. Like, it would take a very long time to be able to get it working. So it's not really a matter of if it can be done. It can be done. It's just a matter of, like, how fast can it be done? And will players still be interested by the time that it's implemented into the game? I'd imagine currently, so I said before on the last stream that being part of the Forerunner program and working on Halo Infinite since 2019, something I've learned is that the launch period for a video game, it's not a fun time for the developers. It's one of the most stressful moments for a developer because now their game is out in the wild and everything that could go wrong is going wrong. And they have to basically gather as much data and feedback as they can. Watching streamers, watching rant videos, like first impressions and stuff. So I imagine it's what, Wednesday? Yeah, so it's the work week. Right now, as we are playing, there are probably meetings happening internally. People are probably finding, like, this was posted on Reddit today. All right, throw it into the pile, like, you know, and trying to sift through the data and figure out specifically what is pissing people off. So that's actually, when you say that the XP progression system sucks, what really helps the developers act even faster is if you're very specific about how it sucks and describe systems that didn't suck. Because all that does is speed up the process. They don't have to interpret your insult. They know exactly what it is that's pissing you off. Couldn't they just implement an older progression system template from a previous game. Well, as like an example of how hard that would be, here, let's search again. We need one more stockpile game. So we've got, what, 160 unlocks currently in this battle pass. What other Halo game progression system has 166 unlocks? We could probably find one that's close. We could take Reach, for example. Okay, let's take Reach as progression system. Should we, like Reach, have the battle pass grind scale up as you rank up? Should it take more and more and more XP? What should be the first starting value? Like, from getting tier 0 to tier 1, how much XP should that take? And then from tier 1 to tier 2, and so on and so on. It's tough because past progression systems, they were not designed around a battle pass. They had a very different customization and progression system. Yeah, it's tough. I don't envy the live team right now. I don't envy the live team. They've got a lot to work on. Holy moly, they've got a lot to work on. Yeah, because they're essentially going to have to design a completely new progression system from scratch. Because this current one just ain't it, you know? I hope you are having a great day, sir, says Red. I am having a great day. I had a really good night's sleep last night. I had ramen last night with Rebecca, and it was incredible. Also, the ramen was good, too. But then I woke up, and I was super sleepy. And I accidentally took a nap for like 2 hours. But that was a pretty good nap. And now here we are playing Halo. Oh boy. Oh boy, that's a shade turret. Okay, we gotta get out of here, my guy. Come on, let's get out of here. Okay. Okay, we're in trouble. Yep. Can you even take it? Says Poggers. Also, sorry on behalf of the people that 343's surprise was blown. On behalf of people that 343's surprise was blown. Like the leaks that the multiplayer was releasing early. Ratchet says, Part 1. My situation with Halo Infinite as a PlayStation fan. I have a PlayStation 5, but I don't want to leave it, so I had to do some jerry-rigging. Okay, this is part 1, so I'm interested to see the other part of his story. Hey, I really enjoy your YouTube, says Alexo. Dude, I really appreciate that. Oh, you know what? Now that I have all of you here, I've got a question for all of you. Yesterday was an unscripted video. Rebecca is probably watching the stream right now, and she can attest to it. Rebecca is awesome and wonderful, and the source of my daily inspiration to do anything. And I was really kind of stressed out a couple nights ago, and I had talked to Rebecca because I was like, oh my god, like my videos, they're kind of like these whole productions, you know, I write a script and I'm very meticulous with like my editing and stuff. I don't know if I can keep up with the content because of the surprise release. And she said, just make an unscripted video. Just do it, your thoughts. And I took her advice and I did it. And I'd be curious to hear what you all thought. I know it wasn't, you know, a scripted video, but Kid in the blue hat says, you mentioned you were part of a group called the Forerunners. Why didn't y'all nudge them that the progression system they wanted might be bad? I'm going to answer that, but first I'm going to answer Ratchet, who says, I have a thin AMD laptop, 3 months free of Game Pass, a weird driver to use DualSense on Microsoft Store, so yes, I'm playing Halo with a PS5 controller. Hey, Ratchet, I am currently playing Halo with a PS5 controller too. It's funny you say that. Okay, so Kid in the Hat. I did actually ask John about this, because obviously part of like a Microsoft NDA is there is some stuff I can and can't say. But I'm only speaking for myself here, okay? Like, other people, other Forerunners, they're free to voice their own opinions. My feedback was exactly that. This is not a, you guys need to, like, rethink this. Okay? Unfortunately, we're not making choices for them. You know, we aren't the actual developers. We're just like this group of people from the community with a variety of specific opinions. And then the developers, you know, we just give them our feedback. And it's up to them whether they, you know, how they interpret the feedback, I guess. I can say, though, that the progression system, I gave my feedback on it. You know, and it's up to them, really, to see. And we're going to keep hammering home, okay? Like, don't worry, the fight is not over, okay? And thankfully, you know, the developers, they are not... Without saying much, they were never really, like, strict on, like, absolutely no changes being made. This is exactly how it will be. Like, discussions were already happening to an extent. And they're very receptive to community feedback this time around. That's probably what was really fun about, I guess, like, the feedback group, is seeing how just a very different kind of 343, where it was like everything we were allowed to give our feedback on. They were taking notes and stuff. Gene T says his voice is cringe. I agree. This is my favorite map. What FOV are you using? Just wondering. Let's take a look. There, 115. I have a challenge to kill Spartans with the heat wave. I've killed at least 20 and it hasn't completed. This system sucks. Yeah, that's another thing. There is always room for error when it comes to, like, these server-side tracking systems and stuff, and locking the progression system to a server that's not really tracking correctly, there's a lot of problems. Is Oddball in the game? Oddball is in the game, and actually this might be my favorite iteration of Oddball so far. It's a lot of fun in this game. It's a pity it doesn't have, like, its own dedicated playlist, because if I could, I would probably just play Infinite Oddball. Don't think they're talking about your voice, LNG. Oh, okay. Here. Let me turn off the voicing game. I forgot that I had it completely on. There we go. Now you don't need to hear my AI babbling. Oh boy. Come on, come on, come on. Damn it! Okay. Why do legs disappear when the FOV is greater than 79? I imagine that's a visual presentation thing. Because, here, I can actually demonstrate it to you. Okay, so, look, when we do this, and then we start spinning, you start to actually notice that when you look at the ground, you can see behind the player. You know? I can see what is directly behind me. When you're at 78 FOV, your FOV is a lot narrower, so you can't really see what's behind you. And I imagine that when you look down at a high FOV and start doing this, you could probably see your ass, like, through your torso. Like, it would become transparently clear that you are a camera that is floating above a set of legs, not a head attached to a physical body. So that's probably why they got rid of your legs when you expand your FOV. MCC had a pretty interesting solution, which is they just had your legs scale with your FOV. So at higher FOV, if you look at the ground, it kind of looks like your legs are floating above the ground, if that makes sense. Like they're being yanked into the sky. Which new weapon do you like? There's actually a lot of new weapons in this game that I really, really like. The Heat Wave, I think, is one of the more interesting weapons. Cinder Shot's also pretty cool. I mean, the new Energy Sword I just like purely for its, like, presentation. Like, this, it is a great design for the Energy Sword. The sound effect's also pretty good for it. New weapon, though. Probably the Mangler, maybe. Oh my gosh, hang on. Let me back up a little bit. I missed some super chats, I think. Greetings. Do you think 343 will introduce Slayer-only playlists for casuals, BTB, and ranked? I find it odd that you can't choose what to play. I agree. It's very odd. And part of the feedback group, we're allowed to give our feedback to the developers. And they're also waiting to hear from the community. So if you believe that there should be more playlists, please be vocal, okay? Please be vocal. Say which playlists you want to see. UNSC Frigate Grafton says, hey, Late Night, what are your thoughts on the soundtrack? Every track gives off a much darker tone before even playing the campaign. I already feel like we lost just from hearing the music. Just my opinion. It's interesting, because some of the music definitely is a lot more kind of like somber, I guess you could say, but then there are some other tracks that are extremely uplifting. Also, just due to the nature of the soundtrack, there's a lot of atmospheric-y pieces, which I'm personally very interested in. Like, atmospheric Halo stuff is some of the best Halo music, in my opinion. I mean, Halo 2 killed it when it came to those atmospheric-y tracks, so I'm interested to hear Halo Infinite's. Kid in the Blue Hat says, canonically speaking, shouldn't Spartan 4s be able to jump over a ghost charging at you, just so you get run over by one? LOL. Canonically speaking, yes. For the sake of presentation, my Spartan was too slow. I ultimately responded far too slow to that ghost charging me. Cheetah Octane says, how do you feel about the vehicles in the game? I like them, with a couple of asterisks. Asterisks. I think that's how you say it. I grew up reading the Asterix and Obelix comic book, so I always mispronounce the word asterisk. But I like the doomed state that it's back from Halo 2. Not too big a fan on the actual visual presentation, which is kind of like smear a red glow all over the thing, instead of like communicate the doomed state via art direction, like have the vehicle starting to combust and burst into flames. Schulze says, Infinite should follow Warframe's free-to-play model. Players can engage in the premium market without paying a cent through trading and Prime Vaults. I do agree. It is very disappointing, I guess, that like the progression system seems to almost be exclusively money-driven. Like, there's no way to kind of like... There's no external means to get like credits and stuff like that, which does disappoint me. Hey LNG, much love from India. Much love from the United States. Ayush? I hope that I pronounced that correctly. Please grade my pronunciation. Fenton Williamson says, a few more maps and modes at launch. I hope so. I hope so. What I will say, though, is there are certain modes like Infection, which are like, you're joking. Again, we're missing Infection. But there are other modes, like Stockpile is back. And it's like, that's, as well as like the renewed focus, I guess, on modes like Griffball, where there's some puzzling omissions that should not have been omissions. But then there's some other stuff where it's like, oh man, like that's cool, you guys brought that back. And then some of the new modes, like Total Control. I actually really like Total Control, and I'm curious about how it would play in Slayer. Or like in a 4v4 environment. Because Strongholds, which is like that kind of generic 3 capture point mode that every shooter has, I'm not too big a fan of it because I always feel like it kind of plays the exact same. Like, I like the idea of the objectives roaming around the match and using different parts of the map. Rebecca, the queen, is here. Oh, of course she is. The queen is always here. Being vocal, they need Fiesta Slayer. Such a fun game type. Yeah, on the topic of Fiesta. So something that's interesting. So Infection is one of those things where it's like, you're kidding me, right? You had 6 years of being told, never do this again. And Infection's not here in the game again. As well as some other like fan favorite modes. But then there's some strange things where it's almost like some of 343's own babies are missing. Like, not that Fiesta was a 343 created game mode, but if there was anything to take away with Halo 5, a success, I'd say, for that game is that its version of Fiesta was incredibly liked by the community. So the fact that even Fiesta, the most popular game mode of Halo 5, that it's not in this game, it's strange. Strange, to say the least. Watanabe says, it might be nothing, but in Recharge, when you shoot the access pads on doors, a green light will turn on. Do you think there's an Easter egg? Potentially? Interesting. Can someone confirm that right now? You might be onto something. Yeah, we're going to revisit that topic. Blowfish Squeegee, that's a great name, by the way, just donated $20. Thank you, Blowfish Squeegee. Rebecca can testify to the fact that I think the word squeegee is pretty great, and it's a pity that it's reserved in the English dictionary for a very specific item. I'd like to be able to say the word squeegee more often. But let's read some of these other super chats, fan chats. Thoughts on the plasma rifle being removed? Not a fan. I do think the plasma rifle served a very specific combat role that wasn't just fully automatic weapon, but plasma. But if we're talking about it from more of like a campaign standpoint, I actually do have an opinion on the, what did they call it? The pulse carbine? Pulse rifle, which I can share with you. I think there is a benefit to having this new burst plasma weapon that may not necessarily be seen in the multiplayer, but in campaign it serves a purpose. PS fan, but does my opinion of Infinite hold value? Of course it does. Of course it does, man. Being a fan of a specific console doesn't necessarily mean that you're like, my opinion on, like, you know, an exclusive from another platform doesn't really hold weight. I am a PC and Switch fan, but I have a lot of opinions about, you know, Xbox and PlayStation games. The new God of War, I am super excited about, seeing as God of War is constantly fighting with Red Dead Redemption 2 for me in terms of being the best game of 2018. Like, I can't stress enough how great God of War is, the reboot. Let me catch up on the chat quickly. Fun with Bugs says, first time Halo player. Great game to hop into and having fun from the start. I'm glad you think so. What are some of the interesting, like, learning curves that you've seen? Because what's very interesting is it's not just you. I've had a lot of people that are new to Halo. They've never played Halo before. And at first I didn't know if it was like a troll, just because I've been playing, you know, I've been playing Halo for so long that I know a lot of these things. And we've been making content for the Master Chief Collection, which is old games for pre-existing fans. But for Halo Infinite, I had someone the other day asking me, how do I change my loadout? And it took me a minute to realize, oh man, like, this guy's never played Halo before. And it was just cool, you know, seeing new fans. I'm very confused about the armor core customization. I unlocked an armor coating I really like, but I can't use it on the Reach armor. No mixing and matching between the different cores makes no sense. Yeah. 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 The armor core system is a little bit rough. And unfortunately, I think it's rough for monetization reasons. PS5 Chan says, please say squeegee again. You managed to make it sound fun. Here we go. Squeegee. It's just a fun word, right? It takes like the fun of saying the word squish and then E, so you get squeegee. It's just a fun word, right? Kid in the blue hat says, on the topic of Halo Infinite and the Flood, do you think we'll ever see the Corruptor protocol enacted in the game? I'm a pretty big Halo fan. What is the Corruptor protocol? The fact that I don't know what the Corruptor protocol is probably means that we won't see it in Halo Infinite unless it gets like a massive introduction. Let's go this way. Yeah, see, this Cinder shot is cool, man. I like that I can steer it a little bit. It's not just like a boring rocket launcher or grenade launcher. Like there's a utility to it. Damn it. Here, let's get out of here. I have a feeling we're going to be killed. Oh, infected Spartan? Is that what it is? How would you design an infected Spartan in terms of a gameplay loop? Oh boy. Infinite Sandbox is the best Halo sandbox. That probably depends on what you think makes a good Halo sandbox. I think within the game that Halo Infinite is trying to be, it is a good sandbox. It reminds me a bit more of it reminds me of Halo Reach's sandbox, I want to say, if it was a little bit more No, not even that. That's not fair. It does really kind of feel like they're trying to emulate Halo Combat Evolved sandbox, where they're trying to make sure that every weapon has its own like unique role to fill. You don't have like 5 automatic weapons, 4 precision weapons, and so on and so on. Thoughts on BTB? I think Total Control is by far the best, purely from the fact that it funnels everyone into the same area, making some great moments. My exact thoughts as well. Total Control is like probably the takeaway mode for me so far. That is a fantastic game mode. It's a lot of fun. Blowfish Squeegee says, very much love LNG. My first message didn't send, but any opinions on the Warthog Physics? I'm just glad to be able to do stunts like in Halo 5. Seems awfully bouncy and slides a lot like Combat Evolved, but very fast like the Rally Hog in Halo 5. Yeah, I did notice the Warthog. It's very, very bouncy in this game, and I think that bounciness is a plus, since it allows for a lot of just nonsense and mayhem. I have had to duck over many barreling Warthogs that were just flipping and flying through the air, and it's funny seeing the enemy team, like the doofus standing on the turret as the Warthog is just doing cartwheels, and you could tell that player is just like, I don't know how to... Do I get out? Or... It's funny. It's funny seeing a Warthog doing cartwheels. Red Lucia says, character customization is one of my favorite parts of Halo multiplayer, so seeing it be so severely barren, especially for free-to-play, is very disheartening. Greetings from your northern neighbor. Oh, Canada! Yeah. The customization is... It's rough. It's hard to say if it's rough, unfortunately, like, as a side effect of the free-to-play, or if it's the progression system that's making it feel so rough. Play any match. Okay, hang on. After this big team battle, we're gonna have to go into some ranked, you know. The shopping list says that I gotta play 3 more ranked matches. We've got Mr. Boone, who just donated $1 CA. Is that a... I'm not sure what that currency is. My brain is drawing a blank. I know what it is, and it's on the tip of my tongue, but David's 13246 says, do you think moving HUD elements lower might help visually, especially in campaign? Like how Halo originally kept the crosshair low to free up the screen? For the campaign, I can see some benefits, because it, like, frees up your overhead, I guess, a little bit more. I want to play the campaign for myself before I make a comment. I just know that, like, in terms of the competitive HUD, I do prefer my HUD elements being right up here. You got your health bar right here, you got your guns right here, and you got your grenades right here. I wouldn't even mind if your grenades were moved here. That way, just this area of the screen is where all tactical information is. All it does is your enemy is right here who you're shooting at. Boom, one glance up there, boom, one glance back. And you've got all the information you need, as opposed to, my health, what's going on? And you're just kind of looking all over the screen, you know? Jeb asks, did you see the new IGN gameplay for the trailer? I did. I did see it. What are your thoughts on the new IGN gameplay? I can say that the campaign looks like a ton of fun. Hey, new fan here. So I already put a lot of money into the game's battle pass to support Halo as a fan, but it's a bad battle pass. Is me doing this being detrimental to getting better content in the future? Thanks. So this is what I would say when it comes to feedback like that. As far as like your money goes, money talks a lot. Like, and if you feel like the battle pass is bad, don't worry about you being a Halo fan. You're already playing the game. That's enough, you know, and that does count, actually. Statistically, it does count when you see, because like they get like player telemetry. They can see individual players, how long they're staying with the game and stuff. So you don't need to physically give them money to prove how much you like Halo. Just playing the game is enough telemetry for them to know that, oh, this guy likes the game. Look, he's sticking with it. In terms of the battle pass, though, you know, it's ultimately up to you. Unfortunately, I feel like the battle pass is too grindy, and I do worry that spending money on it right now will just validate, like, for investors, that nope, this grindy battle pass is the way to make money. Look, see, players are already investing in it. Like, stick with this idea. Let's keep going up. Watanogi, I think I said that right, says, go check out the recharge thing. Oh, we probably could after we get some downtime, right? Joe Joe says, what I don't understand is why helmets can't be worn on all cores. I don't see how clipping would be an issue with that. We're actually gonna cycle back to that topic in a second, because I have a theory. Noah Burke says, hey LNG, I'm pretty sure the lack of game modes and maps are due to it being a beta. I'm pretty sure we have already found out more content will be added when the full game comes out. Big fan. I hope that's the case, Noah, because the way that they worded it suggested this is the game for launch, at least on Waypoint, when they announced this, like, beta was coming out. So I hope that you're right. I hope that you're right, buddy. In the event that you're not, just keep being vocal, you know? Come here. Yeah. Sladabard Fast says, did you see the image of all the free items from the Battle Pass? 80% of them are just challenge rerolls and very little armors. Disappointing. I did see that. On one hand, it is the free Battle Pass, but on the other hand, some armors would be nice, right? Kyle McDonald says, I'm loving the gameplay so far, but I really hope this isn't going to be all the game modes for launch. Me too, Kyle. I'm in the same boat as you, man. So, okay, the Spartan cores. Let's quickly talk about them, okay? So, okay, for the exact... If you remember, Call of Duty Ghosts... I'm going to use Call of Duty as an example, okay? So stick with me. Call of Duty Ghosts introduced the idea of character customization, where you can like edit your clothes, your face, your camos, and like all of this stuff. And then the next game, Call of Duty Advanced Warfare, went further, and it was like you could customize your gloves, you could customize your pants, like your hat, your glasses, and there was a lot of like kind of like all this like just little tweaking, and you got cosmetic items through loot boxes. So there was a lot of stuff in there. Gloves, watches, glasses, pants, like all this stuff that was designed to be unlocked in a loot box and then shoved onto a player. With the shift away from loot boxes, I've noticed a lot of developers are moving in the direction of less cosmetics, since we can't really we can't do this like randomized reward thing anymore. So start focusing on silhouettes, like heroes, basically, where it's like, this is Captain Price in Modern Warfare. Can you customize Captain Price? No, but if you want, you can give us $10 to get the Captain Price fishing pack, where he's got tackle on him and like fish dangling off his vest and stuff. And then, there's the Halloween Captain Price pack. And the idea is that as you're running around in the multiplayer environment and you can see someone wearing that Captain Price fishing pack, you know what that is that they're wearing. You know, it's not like a tiny watch or a pair of pants. It is a very loud and specific design for a hero, for a character. And hey, what a coincidence. It's currently on sale in the store for you. So basically, they're removing the micro customization and making it more macro, and kind of like, it's more around now silhouettes and being as loud as possible. So part of me thinks that the reason that we have these Spartan cores now is so that there are silhouettes. Like, we're probably going to get Combat Evolved style Spartan cores, where they look like they are ripped straight out of Combat Evolved, and they don't want you to put your samurai helmet on that, because it'll ruin the silhouette of the Combat Evolved Spartan core, you know? It'll make it essentially, it's turning players into walking advertisements for what is currently in the weekly rotating store. And it's a lot harder to advertise what is in the store if it's like a pair of boots or something like that. Make it an entire character design. Does that make sense? Hopefully I explained that well. Mysterious Vagabond says, what do you think of the weapons joke of flying octopus monkeys for the skimmers? It's pretty good. It's that, like, Halo-y banter. And I also do actually appreciate that they came up with a name for them on the spot, and they seem alien. Like, as in, our characters haven't seen them before, so figuring out a name for them was clever. And, you know, the humor was a little bit like, it just got a chuckle out of me. It wasn't like a full-blown, holy moly, this is a comedic masterpiece. I just appreciate in general that Halo is trying to be, like, fun again and lighthearted. Here, let's scroll up and look for some more. 343 just needs to get good and join the Gravy's Goo Boys. Also, rest in peace, Snowy Maps. Yeah, there's no Snowy Maps, are there? That's disappointing. This is literally the example I gave to my friend. The cores are essentially operators you get to put pieces on. Yep, exactly. That's the goal. They're kind of like operators. Hunt the Truth says, I'm disappointed in the sandbox. No spiker, no plasma rifle, no carbine, no covey sniper, no fuel rod, no Spartan laser. Where are all the classics? We will answer that. So, Danger Fox donates $1. Thank you, Danger Fox. So, the sandbox, the way I'm seeing it is there are a lot of weapons that are currently missing, but also Halo Infinite seems to have like this renewed focus on damage types as well as weapon roles. So, when we think of the sidekick, what is its role? It's not trying to just be, well, it's a pistol, it's a gun. Well, specifically, if you were a sandbox designer and you sat down and you were like, what's a role that we want for this weapon? Sidearm. That's what I'd argue this thing is trying to be. It's trying to be the sidearm of the game. So the idea is this is not a primary weapon. It is a cleanup weapon of sorts. Whatever is in your primary slot, that is dishing out the amount of damage. And the idea is once the shield is drained or you need to reload, you whip this thing out and start firing and clean up the kill. That's this weapon's role. The Mangler, I'd say, almost has like the same role as the Combat Evolved Magnum, where it's kind of like this heavy-hitting Desert Eagle-style semi-automatic weapon. So when we think of stuff like the Carbine, the game has the Stalker Rifle. So if the Carbine were to return, what role would it fill that the Stalker Rifle doesn't already fill? Same with the Fuel Rod gun. The rocket launcher already exists. Why does the game need 2 rocket launchers? One of them just happens to have 3 more shots. Like, these weapons are going to have to start almost like carving niches for themselves that extend beyond, well, it's an explosive weapon. That seems to be the goal for the game's balancing. Hey, here, let's get... Oh. Let's go this way. Favorite AI? I'll be honest, so far, kind of none of them. I find the AI kind of obnoxious. I don't like listening to them. I think Butler is the closest to being an AI that I like. Luma, who was the AI from the beta, or from the flight that was like a text speech? I did actually like that. That was really good. But the one that's like a ADHD kid who's hopped up on caffeine, that's the one that I think is intolerable. I really hate that one. Oh man, that guy didn't even notice us sitting here. Look at this. We're getting some good kills. Oh my god. Oh my god, guys. Damn it! That was pretty good. That was a little good. That was a good spree that we just got there, right? Benjamin Yang says, it's going to be weird, but I've always loved how open world... It's going to be weird. I've always loved how open world but linear all the previous games had for the campaign, so it'll be weird with this open world. I think it can work with Halo. I think it can work with Halo. Halo... So what's kind of interesting about Halo, if we think of like a recent game, PS5 Chan says that they just achieved level 2. I'm glad to hear it, PS5 Chan. Keep leveling up. Keep ranking up. Ratchet says, pistol is my main weapon, assault rifle is my sidearm. I mean, hey man, if it works for you. But, so, okay, Gears of War 5 was a game that tried to go semi-open world. And in my opinion, it was not an experiment that worked well. Because for me, Gears of War inherently is a defensive, it's a defensive game. You're always hiding behind cover, and you're kind of like slowly pushing the enemy back. Or they're gonna push you back. And open world games, by their very nature, are aggressive. The player is moving forward, they stumble upon a thing, and then choose whether to engage with it or not. You're always catching the enemy by surprise in an open world game. You're never really in a defensive position in an open world game. So, Halo, that's kind of Halo's whole design ethos. You think of the Silent Cartographer. You're driving across the island. There's a group of Covenant up ahead. You run them over and then hop out of the Warthog and start gunning them down before they even know what's going on. So I think that Halo, just by its own design, can work in an open world setting. What I'm more concerned with the open world-ish design is pacing. Because Halo has incredibly specific combat pacing, that 30 seconds of fun, you know? Do you know anyone else prominent in the Halo community who was a Forerunner for the Infinite tests? What I would say is go look at the credits. We're all there. I don't want to speak for anybody, but all the Forerunners are on the credits of the game. So you guys can check that out if you'd like. And yeah, guys, game development is really interesting behind the scenes. It is not how I expected it to go. It is an emotional roller coaster. The way I described it actually to John was it seems almost kind of like you start with bare bones, like you've got no art, you've got no assets and stuff, and it is the messiest, sloppiest thing ever, where it's just kind of like, it's everything. And then what you do is you play that, and you're like, what sucked about this? Cut that. And then you play more, and then what sucked about that? Cut it. And you just keep cutting and cutting and cutting and cutting until you've got something that everyone's like, this is really good. It's just a little bit too simplistic. Then you start expanding from there. And it's apparently a thing in the games industry in general. I forgot what they call it as a term, but I saw a meme this summer from a bunch of game developers that they shared on Twitter where they were like, your first feedback session will always go poorly. And you'll see the feedback improving as you keep playtesting the game. And yeah, it's just a matter of starting from an incredibly ambitious and kind of like crazy place, and then chiseling away the weaknesses till all that's left is this core solid thing. It's like all of the strengths. The Holy Dobany says, do you think we'll ever see the Arbiter come back as a playable character, paywall locked? I would not be surprised. I would not be surprised even if, like, you know, for the sake of, like, the free-to-play stuff, they have, like, a season that introduces the Arbiter. Or, not the Arbiter, but, like, playable elites, you know? As, like, a whole new aspect of the customization system. Here, let me actually... I missed quite a few super chats, I think. Honestly, my biggest fear for the open world is being too tied into one relatively small place in the universe for the whole campaign and the future ones. That definitely is a possibility, but a side effect of that is that that one place could potentially be way more fleshed out than any previous game ever. Like, think of the Ark, that level in Halo 3, where you land on the Ark. It's very sandy, right? Imagine if you had a whole 20-hour game set in that environment. It would suck that you don't have the array of environments, but you would become very intimately familiar with that location. And the potential for just world building and storytelling in that location, there's a lot that they could do. What you'd lose in environmental variety, you'd make up for in a more intimate knowledge of the location that you're in. Zackety Splat, that's a fun name, says, how do you feel about the turrets not having a cooldown after firing? Did you like when they did? Why or why not? I actually do like that they don't have a cooldown. But I know that that's almost like, kind of like a preference thing. What do you guys think? Are you a fan of no cooldown, or... I didn't like when Reach added the overheating mechanic. Isokis says, not to heart, but do you think the armor core situation can be fixed or reworked? Or do you think it will just be a deal with it workaround? Also, heart you. So, okay. The armor core system. Let's talk about that. I don't think it is a lost cause. I think the reason that the armor core system is so restrictive is as a monetization thing, because they want to be able to monetize specific silhouettes. If you buy the samurai armor, they want that silhouette to be easily recognizable on the battlefield, so all cosmetics for it need to be samurai themed. If you could shove your samurai helmet on a Reach Spartan or something, then the silhouettes start getting muddy, and it's hard to tell what is in the store this week for players to buy. I think first and foremost, that's the reason it is. And I do encourage people to keep criticizing it, you know? I don't think it was done as just kind of like, we never consider. I do think there was a reason that it was done that way. And I would like to see it changed. And I do think it can be fixed. Robbie... Oh my gosh, there's so many. Okay, so Robbie says, did I miss the chat about the progression system? It's ongoing. We are talking about it, Robbie. And I think the consensus currently is that none of us are particularly happy with it. And we've been suggesting a lot of different fixes. I'd be curious to hear your suggestions. Q Alter says, the Disruptor is underrated. I went on a killing spree with it and the Sidekick together. Also, the Wasp is kind of overpowered. Got 47 kills with just that one. Yeah, the Wasp isn't... I'm not a big fan of the Wasp. I think it's a little bit... It's a Banshee, but easier to use. Ratchet says, Melee's inconsistent to the point that it's broken. Is it inconsistent to the point that it's broken? Because I know Melee is one of those things that has always been weird in Halo, blank melees and stuff. Are you guys getting more blank melees in Halo Infinite than past titles? Because I still think probably Halo 3 is like the king of blank melees and blank shots. I'm currently playing on keyboard and mouse. I'm going to switch over to the controller in just a sec. Let's grab this. Now let's scroll down quickly so we can catch up. M. Chronicler says, what's your opinion on the Commando? I find it weak. So the Commando is interesting. I like it conceptually. I do think that there is a problem that is not necessarily the Commando's fault. I think it's the assault rifle hogs the Commando's role maybe a little bit, which is the idea of a ranged, fully automatic weapon. But, you know, that's almost more of like a preference thing. The Commando, I get what they're trying to do with it. And I would be curious, actually, to play Halo Infinite Big Team Battle with Commando starts. I could imagine it being actually quite a bit of fun. Because I do think that there should be some weapons that are just flat out weak. Because how else are you going to encourage people to pick up other weapons? You know, the weapon that you start out with should not be like this flawless thing. So the Commando as it sits right now, I can see it actually being a pretty solid starter weapon for a mode. Notorious Halo 17 says, will 343 make spin-off campaigns during this period? Oh, of course they will. I think they've said that already. And if they haven't, I think it's actually been like data mined or something. Do you think we'll ever have normal color palettes again, or even be able to color swap the shaders? If you guys keep giving feedback, it could happen. Because ultimately, it's all down to feedback. If the players are genuinely upset, and it becomes a problem, because the coding system, I do think actually genuinely some aspects of the coding system are not slimy and manipulative. I think it's more down to the tech guys creating it and getting so excited about the way that they can, like, how much easier it is now to seamlessly transplant like decals, colors, and textures from model asset to asset, that they did not stop and consider what is being lost in the process. And then I think you have some other people that are considering like how easily this could be monetized, and I don't think it was done in a vacuum purely for money reasons. I do think it was, you know. So I'd say keep voicing your criticisms of the lack of color options, and you might see changes. 2K Yeti says, I could be wrong, but I seem to almost distinctively recall All Inside Infinite where they said they'll work on letting you mix and match with armor cores, but it'll be post-launch. I do believe they said that. I do remember that. You may be right. Oh my gosh, hang on. We're missing quite a lot. Oh, thank God the match is over. I can catch up on some of these. The Holy Dobany says, bring back challenges for armor bragging rights. Yes, I agree with you. Anthony Rousseau donates $1. Thank you, Anthony. Kyle Smith donates a whopping $50. Kyle Smith, thank you. Thank you, my friend. That means a lot. I appreciate it, man. I hope you're doing well. Bjorklund, I hope I pronounced that right, says, have you seen the IGN new campaign footage? If so, it looks nice as fuck. I agree there. It did look really nice. The campaign, there's going to be a lot to prove, but hopefully it's good. I wonder how the Marines will drive us around in the campaign. I hope that they drive us around well. That's actually something interesting that I had never considered. Marine pathfinding in the campaign due to the more open world nature of it. Huh. That was a good comment to make, actually. Robbie says, Jerome and Isabel expansion or I run through the wall. I would like to see Jerome and Isabel. They're fun. Sly Sheeb says, the lack of player collision gives Melee a super janky feel, in my opinion. I wish you could unlock armor outside of the battle pass, but so far I love this game. I'm with you there. I am team player collision. I do think the negatives of player collision outweigh the negatives of not having it, which is like that kind of jankiness where you're it's like a match of ghosts where you're all phasing through each other. There's a lack of tangibility within the world, and it makes timing melees a little bit more difficult than they used to be. The coding system locks colors behind the battle pass and pads the battle pass excessively, says Surveillian. And yeah, that's what I think is some of the reasons that they're sticking with this coding system. But keep voicing your complaints, okay? If you're loud enough, they will change it. Oh my god, I am on fire, says... do you think part of the lack of free customization right now is due to us not having the campaign locks available at the moment? That's a good point, actually. Very good point right there. Stay on that. We're going to revisit the topic of like free stuff when the full game comes out. Don't worry about me just sitting here. Okay, I am catching up. Joshua says... The weekly challenges don't necessarily need to be removed per se, but per match XP with bonuses based on medals earned needs to be implemented. And Joshua, I am in complete agreement. The challenges are not the problem. The problem is that they are the only method of getting XP. The challenges themselves are okay. Anthony Russo says, in defense of armor cores, the current system allows them to make different geometries of armors with different slots. Also makes sense in lore. Yeah, those are some positives. But I also do think that that's never been a problem in the past, I guess, for Halo. You know, people have made Franken-Spartans a lot. But I also do understand that with Halo Infinite, they are going to be going in this, like, I guess, Elseworlds, kind of like you're going to have some weird samurai non-canon armors. And all the Franken-Spartans that people have made in the past, like I think of Halo Reach, all the armors in that game fit that game's art style. Where in Halo Infinite, you're going to see a lot of stuff that doesn't look like it fits the Halo art style for monetization purposes. And so I do understand that there will be a little bit less visual consistency. It's kind of almost like Halo 3 on the MCC. How just kind of like messy the Spartans running around the multiplayer are starting to look, because some of them don't look like they're from a Halo game, and some kind of do, but some also look like they're from Halo 4, and it kind of like muddies up the visual look of Halo 3. Oh my god, I'm on... Oh, I think I already answered that one. Kyle Smith, $50. I'm not sure if that was a past donation. Oh no, Kyle Smith just donated another. Kyle Smith, thank you so much, buddy. I really appreciate it. Wadsworth says, if you enable player collision in custom games, you unfortunately slide off the tops of Spartans now, so no more Spartans surfing. That's disappointing. So it's kind of like Call of Duty, where you kind of slip and slide off of players. That's disappointing. 2K Yeti says, I hope that for the campaign they utilize the levels of AI for friendlies. So like Marines use Marine bot AI, ODSTs use ODST, all the way up to Spartan. So what's kind of interesting about that is you don't want the Marines to hog the spotlight. Like, in the past, I've seen people criticize, like, Halo's Marine AI, where they're like, haha, look at how bad they are. They can't survive a fight with an elite, or, you know, they're so bad at driving. Well, that's kind of the point, you know? The player is the main character of the match, or the level that you're in. You don't want the AI to be completing the level for you and clearing out the encounters for you. You know? Oh. So I do think that, like, the Marines should be relatively on the dumb side of things. I think they should be able to at least have a losing stalemate. Like a stalemate that they are slowly losing if they ever encounter a banished squad. And really the deciding factor on if they make it out of the fight alive is the player. Schulze says, shout out to the Halo Custom Edition modders. Shout out to the Halo Custom Edition modders called Shadow Mods who have a working 16-player co-op campaign called Combat Co-op Evolved. It's interesting that you say that, Schulze. Somebody reached out to me and told me about that. And that's one of the things on my backlog right now of requiring investigation, because that sounds incredibly entertaining, having 16 people running around Halo Combat Evolved's campaign. Like, we've all thought of, like, shoving warthogs into doors and stuff like that. Could you imagine 16 Master Chiefs all bumping and fumbling around trying to squeeze through a tiny Forerunner door? Spartastic4 says, if you could add a plot point to the Halo story, no matter how serious or ridiculous it is, what would you add in? Hope to play with you soon. Man, if I could add a plot point. Huh. Am I allowed to do anything I want? Or is this more like, oh man, you've given me too much free reign. My mind is starting to race. I have, like, a lot of things that I wish I could do with Halo. Like, for example, Johnson. I think he can come back. Would it ruin his death? Absolutely. But I think he can come back. And you know how he could come back? Have him show up in a later game, and it's like, Master Chief, look who's here to see you. And then, like, you know, you cocky bastard, always running your mouth. And it's Johnson, and he's back, and it's like, how'd you make it out of there alive? I saw you die, and that's classified. And he's back. And then whatever, you could have a comic book or whatever explain that after he died, something on the Ark was like, a sentient being is currently in mortal danger, activate life-preserving protocols, and, like, they escort him to, like, a cryptum or something, and it, like, rejuvenates him, and he survives the detonation of the Ark. Basically that way. Did you see my Spartan body ragdoll over to the objective? He was convinced to capture that objective, even in death. I'd say that would be the dumbest thing I'd want to have happen in the Halo story. Like, if I could have my way, and it's like, I'm gonna do something stupid, and you can't stop me, I would bring Johnson back. Reinar says, I think a good change for challenges is if you're on par with if you're on a per-match basis, the way you'll always have a challenge. Yeah, Reinar is basically suggesting it should be on a per-match basis. And Reinar, you are, buddy, you are speaking our language. That's what we are all currently kind of in agreement with right now. Also, I quite like your profile picture. So the UNSC frigate, Grafton, says, the commander in boot camp said the Infinity and Chief were missing. What the fuck is gonna happen? Isn't that the question of the day? So I imagine that the campaign is probably going to end on a soft cliffhanger. And what I mean by soft cliffhanger is more or less a, you know, the Halo, it's finished. No, I think we're just getting started. I think we're going to end on something like that. Because Halo Infinite is serving as the first game in a new journey for the Halo story. So wrapping it up satisfactorily with absolutely no way to proceed going forward, I don't think that's going to happen. I do think we're going to have a really good narrative that will have a finale and conclusion, but don't expect it to be like Halo 5, where the plot just literally wasn't done yet, and then the game ended. So, yeah, I guess the Infinity and Chief are going to go missing, possibly? Unless they are talking about, remember the pilot found Chief floating in space at the start of the campaign? So maybe that's what they're referencing? Last Arbiter says, do you think we will be able to summon ODSTs and Spartans, maybe named ones like Blue Team and Fobs? Possibly. Didn't they say that you'd be able to outfit like a squad of Marines to follow you at your Fobs? I think IGN mentioned that. Banana says, I finished all my challenges, so now there's no point in me trying. Now one of my favorite things to do is full up the Razorback and drive off maps. Yeah, that's another thing with this progression system, is once you're done, that's it. In fact, you're better off not playing the game so that you don't burn yourself out. It's kind of like the MCC, but even the MCC, I'd argue, has a little bit more value, because at least you can rank up your number, you know? Here, though, there's, like, once you're done with your challenges, guys, don't play anymore. You're going to get bored of the game, you know, before you've even ranked up completely. Obviously play for fun, but once the fun is over, the honeymoon phase is over, and all you've got left are, like, the challenges to pursue, like, you're going to be kind of burnt out. Like, you played for too long. You know, be careful. Red Lucia says, grinding out infinite ranks makes me want to play Cursed Halo on Legendary. Yeah. It's maybe not that bad, but it's pretty bad. It is not okay, the current progression system. Tenuto says, do you prefer playing on mouse and keyboard more or controller? What is your pro to each? So I actually like both, and I think there is a tactical advantage to both of them. I think that at a range, when it comes to like range stuff, I think that there is a perked controller. Just because of the long time to kill, and so basically the aim assist is able to keep you on target for longer. But when it comes to like snap second needing to shoot something really fast out of nowhere, like I think that that's where mouse has its bonuses. Like if you see a fusion coil in the environment, you don't need to fight against the aim assist to drag your cursor over to the fusion coil. Like it's very easy to use environmental, you know, like right there. It's like, boom, we're going to shoot up there. You don't need to work with the aim assist to do it. You can snap to target. So I feel like SWAT, whenever that does get added to the game, SWAT's going to feel really nice on a keyboard and mouse. Q Alter says, wonder how well the Marines will handle themselves. I'm going to try a pacifist playthrough, and I imagine Legendary will be a pain. Oh, man. Pacifist Halo. That's probably a lot of fun to do. Pacifist Halo, like outfitting the Marines with the tools. Why does the Halo 4 and 5 soundtrack sound like epic Hollywood Marvel-like music? Maybe because that was some of the goals, I guess. Somebody had mentioned the other day an interesting point, which is it's kind of funny that Halo 5's story is about heroes fighting each other in the same year that two of the biggest blockbusters were Batman vs. Superman and Captain America Civil War. It just seemed to be a trend at the time to have like nihilistic heroes all arguing and beating the snot out of each other. And Halo 5 was no different. Definitely also with the cutscenes of Halo 5, you can tell that there is a Hollywood influence. They look more like Hollywood movies than they do video game cutscenes. It's almost more about like style over substance. To the point that I think some of the cutscenes are kind of distracting to watch. It's hard to follow them. mostly because the camera is doing such complicated cinematic things that it's kind of like I find myself just getting distracted by what the camera operator is doing. Lurda Jadis says, are you able to speak about what your contribution was to Infinite's development? I've heard you mention that you helped work on the game and you're included in the credits. Sorry if you already spoke on this. No worries. There are some stuff, obviously, that I can't talk about, and believe me, I'd love to, but I don't want Microsoft to be upsetty spaghetti, and I'd love to be able to continue contributing feedback, and for them to trust me. But what I can say is, like, I said in the past that, like, something interesting that I learned working on Halo Infinite, I say working on Halo Infinite as if I was coding it. No. Like, definitely, what the part that I played was so small. I was just one voice of many giving feedback. But it was basically that, where it's, you know, we're gonna have you guys play this thing. What do you think? Feedback. Here's how it can be better. Here, play this thing. Feedback, how can it be better? And so on and so on and so on. And you refine and whittle down all until there's like no weaknesses left, and all you've got are the core strengths of the idea presented. Something that I was really happy with about 343 during Infinite's development is they were very receptive to our feedback. Incredibly so. There were a lot of hard choices that were made that I assume, like, you know, some of the developers, like, you know, it was probably hard for them to hear some of our feedback, but they were very receptive and acted on our feedback. And the game that we're playing right now it's in a very good direction. And even though I disagree with certain things, like obviously I'm one voice, they're not going to listen to me exclusively. As a whole, the culmination of feedback that was given, from where they started to where they are now, Infinite's solid, and they did a really good job listening to us. And I think they've given themselves a game with legs. Now, all they have to do is stay on top of the content. Make sure that they're updating it constantly. You know, they can't slow down. We can't have like a Halo 5 content drought. Now, let me see if I can find a safe spot so that I can read some of these donations. I also don't want to discredit you guys, because you guys being super vocal, that also has feedback. And something I can say about the process of developers. Developers. So developers, due to the amount of voices that they are hearing at any given time, the way that they kind of almost break up data is they almost treat it like bullet points. Think of like a PowerPoint slide, and it's positives, negatives. And the idea is you're supposed to look at those, and you're supposed to say, got it. So those are the positives and negatives. So, positives. Core gameplay is strong. Players enjoy the focus on the sandbox, the variety of the weapon. There are specifics, so the developer's like, got it. We can keep doing that because players like it. Negatives. Progression systems. Players feel it is too grindy, and there are not enough ways to get XP outside of challenges. Got it. They can work with that. So if you say the thing sucks, they can't really put that on a PowerPoint because the developers can't do anything with that information. They don't know what it is about it sucking. They know that you think it sucks. They don't know why you think that, though. Big Papa, and it ultimately speeds up development if you take out a bit of the interpretation, because they're not stupid. You know, if they sat down and spent a day, they could probably figure out exactly what it is you don't like about it. But it helps them speed up the process of fixing it if you can just cut to the chase. Like, it sucks for X, Y, and Z. It's like, got it, thank you. You took out some of the work for them so they can react to the feedback a little bit quicker. Here, I'm going to answer some of those other donations. Don't worry, I see them. I see them piling up. Once I die, once I lose the sniper, and I know it's coming. I know it's coming. I can feel it on the horizon. I'm about to die and lose this sniper. I'm on a bit of a roll right now. Hang on. I'm in the zone, okay? You know, it's those moments where, like, something about your brain clicks in place and you're like, I got it, I'm a master, I'm a pro. And it's like, crap, the energy is starting to go away. Here we go, this is it. Watch. Yep, there we go. Okay, it's over. My little high is done. Okay, so, did you see IGN's campaign video from a few hours ago? I did pop a crusty. I liked what I saw. The question is, did you? I'd be curious to hear your thoughts. Nathaniel says, best map design in Infinite right now? Probably, for me at least, it's either Behemoth or that other launch site map. I like the large maps that have a ton of vehicles and various things you can interact with in the environment. Live Fire, this is probably the weakest map in my opinion. No, actually, I'd say that maybe goes to, what was it called, Aquarius or something? You know, this map is like, all right, I get it, Mr. 3-lane. You know, I played this in Black Ops already. Like, I'm very familiar with the 3-lane style of map design. But, what do you think's the best design? Because those are only my preferences. Daemonium says, I've already finished the challenges at 10 hours on a 9-hour midday work days. Not enough or hard enough to last a week. I can't level up until next week now. That's another problem, is once you do a certain amount of things, that's it. No more work. The game kind of enforces downtime. And not that, you know, not that, like, enforcing down, or that, like, you must play constantly, but, I do think it is kind of backwards of a system to design it to specifically discourage you playing it. Like, you put in your hours, your time is done, you're free. Shrimp Guy says, I'm enjoying the gameplay, but there's a few things I can't ignore. Bring back crunchy Halo 3 explosions, weapon sandbox, it's so small, what gives? Yes, the explosions, that could use some work, you know? That could use a little bit of work, in my opinion. And as far as the sandbox goes, I actually like the Infinite sandbox so far. I do like that it is small. The reason why is because I think with the lack of weapons comes a lot more room for individual weapons to shine, you know? You don't have a lot of overlapping roles. Like, I can't really say anything else is like the Needler in this game, where in Halo 5, there's like 7 homing weapons? Something like that. And then in Halo 3, you have the SMG, the Spiker, the Plasma Rifle, and the Assault Rifle. And they're all just kind of like fighting, and like some, like the Spiker, are just left in the dust. Like, with the lack of just everything in the kitchen sink sandbox design, you do have a lot more room for individual weapons to have a very specific purpose. But there are some weapon roles that are missing that I think the game needs, such as a shell-loading shotgun. Marcus Haberling says, not worried as much about the progression, keeping the game fresh as much as the lack of playlists, snipers, SWAT, weekly specials especially. Yeah, the lack of playlists, guys, please keep harping on about that, okay? You know, feedback matters. And in my opinion, there is an astonishingly low amount of playlists, like unacceptably low. There needs to be more variety. Tristan Belicky, I think I pronounced that right, says, what's an armor set you'd want added to Infinite? Personally, I'd want a Marine or ODST armor set. Oh man, ODST for me, buddy. Any game with a good ODST helmet, I always run ODST in that game. Halo 3, Reach, and the ODST in this game looks pretty solid, so I might be running that too. Big Papa Krusty says, Chief saying, made me laugh. Yeah, Chief's good in Halo Infinite so far, the writing that we've seen. He doesn't speak a lot, but when he speaks, it's usually a very iconic thing that he says. Ratchet says, where's the best place to give detailed feedback? Threads, believe it or not. Because a thread almost streamlines the workload for the developer, because it's like, oh, look, all the feedback is right here. So contributing to threads, actually, is pretty great. And linking developers' threads is great as well, because, you know, all the feedback is right there. Lordy Jadis says, thanks for the answer. I wonder, was it an opportunity you had to apply for, or was it something they recognized your influence in the community and sought you out? I'm not sure. I mean, I do know that I'm not sure if I can talk about the specific process. I can get back to you on that. But I do know that, you know, they sought some of us out specifically for certain aspects of the Halo community, what we contribute and how we articulate our views and thoughts. That's why you see, like, some people in those credits where it's like, that's interesting. There isn't a lot of gigantic people in there. There's even some small people in there that you probably don't recognize. The reason being is they represent a very specific part of the community and views on the community. Because the thing is also, you're going to see some people in there like Shyway, who are big fans of Halo 5. I'm not a big fan of Halo 5. I don't think it's the right direction for the series to go. But Shyway's there, because he does like Halo 5, and his opinion matters. It's not the worst thing that they could do in designing Infinite is create an echo chamber of everyone just agreeing with each other and saying, this is it, this is it, this is the way we go. Like, if you got a bunch of me, like, if you had maybe assembled a squad of 27 clones of me and told them all to design a game, the game would probably be atrocious. It would be a disaster. You need a variety of opinions to keep other people in check, you know? Shrimp Guy says, I did. I feel the need for the cleaned up sandbox they have. It's a lot tighter. No two guns fill the same role. Yeah. Yeah, exactly. The sandbox is a little bit more defined. There is obviously some stuff where I'm like, some weapon roles I think are missing. I think the assault rifle, as strange as this sounds, like from a competitive standpoint, I'm thinking more about the campaign. I think the assault rifle could do with a lot more spread, like a lot more spread, because the game doesn't really have a proper, like, bullet spread SMG role where it's just you fill up a hallway with a hose of shots and everything is getting hit and they're all staggering. Because I think of, like, Combat Evolved, where there's a squad of grunts and they're fleeing, and in order to slow them down, just start firing at them with the assault rifle, and random bullets are catching them, and the whole squad is slowing down. When you've got an assault rifle that is this accurate, you can really only hit one target at a time. The spread isn't nearly wide enough to capture a bunch of entities within the hose. So for competitive stuff, I get, like, the accuracy, but in terms of campaign, and then also, like, the shell-loading shotgun, I do think that is a role that needs to be filled. Just plug the Combat Evolved assault rifle in. I pay money for that. Yeah, that's kind of where I sit, because Halo isn't really a game to me where you're like this. With automatic weapons. You know, that's, like, automatic weapons, in my opinion, have predictable firing patterns that can be de-scoped if you're shot, because it makes ranged combat a little bit more enjoyable, where close-ranged combat is that kind of frenetic golden triangle where you're using your gun, your melee, and your grenades, and having an inaccurate assault rifle encourages that, because it's like you're draining shields, and then quick, shields are down, you gotta reload, melee or grenades, or Grenades. What are you going to use now? Your melee or your assault rifle? I think the problem with an assault rifle, we talked about it in the past, but it was described as being slot machine-like, where a predictable firing pattern, there is a skill to that, in that if your shots land, it's because you made sure they land. Where with an assault rifle, the spread is all over the place, and the recoil's all over the place, so it's more of a slot machine. When two people are shooting at each other from downrange with assault rifles, there isn't a lot of skill involved there. It's more a slot machine. The RNG will make some bullets hit the head, others not. It's just a matter of who wins the roulette wheel, you know, so to speak. There's not a lot of skill involved there. I hope that makes sense. And that's more, honestly, of like a design preference, you know, and that's kind of like the feedback that I give. But there are some other people who do prefer the assault rifle to have like a long range to it. And somebody even said what you're describing is the SMG. And there you go. That's another thing where some people think about it more in terms of like plausibility, where I'm a little bit divorced from if a weapon is performing authentically to its real-world counterparts. I'm more thinking about just what makes for more interesting mechanics for me personally. So for Combat Evolved, the assault rifle has less range and accuracy and damage than the tiny little pistol. Yeah, that makes sense to me, because I think mechanically it worked within that game's sandbox. But there are other people, and I can understand why they would get caught up on the fact that, like, the pistol is outperforming a rifle at a range. Zach Lyall says, I've seen the Disruptor has multiple applications over it kills. Should there be more weapons that have a utility function as well? Yeah, in my opinion, I think this is way more interesting to me than this. Then your weapon, you can aim down the sight with it. The idea of like alt fires and different ways to use a weapon beyond its lethality, that's what makes a weapon way more engaging to me. So yeah, I'd love to see some other like kind of weapons with secondary utilities. A reason to pick them up beyond like, yeah, this weapon kills good. I think this is the final ranked game before the next set of challenges comes up. Oh, just got descoped right there. Okay. Let's make sure we're not missing anything. I probably did miss some things, though. How would you fix the battle pass? So I have actually said that I would like to see XP based on your performance per match. So like if you get like lots of multi-kill medals and stuff, I think that those should be converted into XP rewards for you. If you capture a lot of objectives, boom, more XP. I think the blunderbuss from Cursed Halo would fill a wonderful little role in Infinite. It's funny you say that, because Cursed Halo is definitely cursed, but I think Cursed Halo almost highlights how much of value Halo could gain from designing weapons more around weird quirks, utilities, and gimmicks than range. Because balancing a weapon around damage per second and range, that's more of like a Call of Duty thing. That's not really a Halo thing. Halo has been kind of always, it's always like flirted with the idea of weapons being balanced more around what role they fill. Obviously, you do have to have some guns that kill good, but Halo is a two-weapon game. So the idea is pick the weapon for your primary slot that you're going to be doing most of the killing with. And then your second slot, reserve it for the weapon that has bizarre and unusual quirks that you can pull out in the battlefield whenever you need. I think of like the Gravity Hammer. A good reason to keep the Gravity Hammer in Halo 3 wasn't necessarily for running around and getting killing sprees. It was for launching yourself to higher positions. Keep a battle rifle in your primary slot, and then on a level with a lot of verticality, kind of like Guardian, keep that Gravity Hammer with you. That way you can launch yourself up to higher vantage points. Stuff like that, you know? Halo isn't a one-gun game. It's a two-gun game. Let me see. Music Man says, changing the assault rifle in the way you're thinking would put so many people off. Your opinion is definitely not a popular one, but it's interesting, says Music Man. Yeah, see? And ultimately, Halo does need to be super marketable, I guess, to people. So for me, my idea of making this arcadey game where the rules of reality don't really apply, and we're thinking more about the arcadey role of a weapon within this arena shooter setting. For some people, they would prefer that they can pick up the automatic rifle and just kill people at any range with it. That makes more sense to them, and that's more approachable to them. What I'm suggesting is maybe a little bit too alienating for a wide market. Headshot an enemy spawned immediately after damaging them with a grenade in PvP. After marking them in PvP. With a cinder shot in PvP. Okay, these are challenges we can do in big team battle, so we'll jump into there. And that's ultimately the reason that I was not the only Forerunner, because I'm saying things like assault rifles gotta have a nerf, way too much range. But then you've got other people who are saying basically what you guys are saying, where they prefer the assault rifle to be balanced more around, like, I just want to be able to shoot at things at a range with it. And both opinions matter, I think. A good question from Ratchet in chat. When you say thread, do you mean Twitter or their blog for the game? Also, I hope Riftball comes back. Any thread, Reddit, Waypoint, Twitter. And then if you can, contact a community person or, you know, anybody and tag them in the thread. That way they can be like, ah, got it. Because then when they have like their meetings every week on, here's what happened in the community last week, and everyone's kind of getting up to speed, because they do have those kind of meetings internally at the studio. Your community team can gather up their kind of like proverbial portfolio of things about, here's a whole bunch of threads from the community, let's go down them and analyze them and discuss them. Voided Chio says, thoughts on the esport influence on map design and sandbox balancing? Seems a bit detrimental to me due to less abstract maps and weaker power weapons, but I may be comparing them too much with Halo 3. So, it's interesting because I agree and I don't agree there. I do think that there are a lot of abstract maps in the game, and funny enough, those abstract maps, I think actually there were some people that weren't a fan of those. I saw some of the esports community like really complaining about Behemoth because they were like, this is so stupid. Vehicles don't belong in esports and stuff like that. And that new launch site map, some of the more competitive folks are like, too big, needs to be scaled down, too big. And all I'm thinking about is, as a casual fan who just enjoys Social Slayer and more sandboxy mayhem, I'm like, God, I love launch site and Behemoth. Whereas Live Fire, the one that the competitive folks seem to really like, I think it's really boring. So I think the game already has a lot of variety, I guess. What's important is that a variety persists, because the game doesn't have a lot of maps, and it doesn't have a lot of weapons right now, and it's important that they get some more in there fast, at least in my opinion. Lordy Jada says, do you think weapons will be added to the sandbox throughout Infinite's lifespan? Through Battle Pass seasons, maybe? Personally, I'm already missing the SMG, the shotgun, and the saw from Halo 4, as well as various of the Covenant weapons. So if Halo Infinite's going to be around for 10 years, we're going to see weapons back. Some weapons, like the saw, I don't like the saw from Halo 4 and Halo 5. I think the saw was born from an interesting period in Halo, which is when it was trying to be like Call of Duty, if you remember. The saw was a kill streak weapon. You got your kill streak up, and then you call in a weapon that is good at killing people with not a lot of drawbacks. So mechanically, I think the saw is incredibly dull and dry. It's just assault rifle, but better. And I think Halo can be a little bit more creative than the saw. But for the sake of longevity, I would actually like to see Halo adopt almost a Battlefield Portal-like approach, where I would like to see eventually all weapons across the Halo franchise make their way back almost one-to-one, perfectly capturing their original presentation. That means the Halo 3 assault rifle. That means the Halo 1 pistol. That means, yes, even the Halo 4 saw. Would they be balanced within the sandbox? No, of course not. But if you were creative in Forge and custom games, they could be balanced on your map, you know? And you could theoretically recreate old combat loops. I think almost like some people think about damage per second and range when they think of like balancing. And I think that's not the correct way to approach it with Halo. Balancing is based more around weapon placement. So like if a sniper is on a certain map and you're like, sniper's zoom is too high. Maybe the problem isn't that the sniper's zoom is too high and we need to nerf it. Maybe the problem is the map it's not the correct map for the sniper. The sniper should be on a bigger map. Come on. There we go. I'm going to answer some more super chats. Don't worry, I see them. I think we're about to win the match. There we go. All right. Let's answer some of these, okay? And Lord Jadis, I see the $50. I really appreciate it, friend. That means a lot to me. Have we heard anything from 343 about a PvE mode like Firefight or Spartan Ops for Infinite? How much of a priority do you think that would have? Unfortunately, I haven't. All we've got is this Academy thing. I do hope that we get Firefight. That's a lesson even Halo 5 learned, that you need a firefight mode. And it will become a priority if you are vocal enough. If the community really starts harping on about needing a wave-based firefight mode, they'll add one. Just be vocal, okay? Senuit? I think I pronounced that right. Tell me if I butchered it, though. It says, I say that because I would go into the academy and train with the AI, and they would kill me with an AR from pretty far range, but maybe I'm wrong. Yeah, the AI, I think, are almost like kind of like my doomsday situation. Obviously, real players, there is a lot more room for error, and real players aren't that laser accurate, but the AI, they do demonstrate, like, at least what I don't like, for optimum assault rifle ranges. What the fuck? Oh, something that's fun. You can actually detonate fusion coils out of people's hands. Oh boy. Should we open up the loot cave? Also, what do you guys think about their seeming, like, you know, their weird stance on, like, remakes, where they were like, nope, no remakes. We're not going to be doing remakes. I know that people complain when maps are remade. I personally like it. In Call of Duty, there is a little bit less value, since the maps themselves really aren't the most important thing in the world. But, in Halo, the maps really are the identity. There are no loadouts. The player combat rhythms are dictated by the maps themselves and their identities. And I think that in Call of Duty, criticisms about just it's just remade maps, that's less applicable to Halo. And especially given 343's unfortunate track record when it comes to struggling with keeping up with content demand, I do think that they could benefit from the more speedy process of remaking a map. T-Bone says, is it just me or does something feel off with the aiming on mouse and keyboard and controller? It's not just you, T-Bone. Something feels weird. And ever since the Halo 5 evolution of like Halo engine, or the Halo engine's technology. With Halo 5, something happened to the way that they changed under the hood how aiming is calculated and works. And it contributed to heavy aim in Halo 5, where it's the most bizarre thing in the world. The only other game I can think of that has the same problem is Killzone 2, where it's almost like instead of frame rate dips, you get like aiming slowdown, where if your system is taxed too hard under the hood, aim assist starts just collapsing, and aim responsiveness starts dynamically adjusting, and you'll actually notice input delay. So some maps like the Rig, if you look at certain parts of the map, just suddenly you'll have slight input lag. But then if you look at other parts, your input lag's completely gone. And it's very weird. And Halo Infinite is running off of an evolved version of that Halo 5 technology. You know, it's just the next step in the Halo engine's technological evolution. And I am very anxious about heavy aim, you know, and if it's back, but in a new evolved form. Because whatever changed in the process of going from Halo 4 to Halo 5, oh god, this poor assault rifle. Oh baby, look what they did to you. Oh, this is awful. But yeah, something changed. And I'd be curious to see if anyone has figured out exactly what feels off. I thought Halo Infinite was running on a new engine. Well, it is and it isn't. So, it is running on a new engine in that this is not Halo 5, you know? The engine is very different from Halo 5. But they took Halo 5 and they started to rip apart the engine and rebuild certain things. The best way I can describe it is, it's kind of like, so you take Call of Duty Modern Warfare, that engine once upon a time was the engine that ran the very first Call of Duty game, and before that, Quake. And what happens is, it's like, okay, you start off with Quake where you've got simple geometry and stuff like that. Well, it's like, okay, we're going to implement a very complex animation system where animations can kind of blend together. Boom, you've added that now to the Quake engine. Okay, well now, we're going to add rigs for faces. So now the Quake engine supports facial animations. Boom, you've added that. Well, I also want to get some vehicles with pretty realistic physics. Well, you design that, bolt it onto the Quake engine. Boom, and you keep bolting these systems on, and eventually, it's almost unrecognizable. Somewhere in there is the Quake engine, but you've bolted so much onto it that it's like, it's its own engine now. Like, this engine that I'm looking at right now, somewhere in here is Combat Evolved. It's in here somewhere, but it's just evolved so much, and there's so many new doodads and tricks bolted onto it that it's like unrecognizable, you know? And that's where you hear the term tech legacy debt and like tech debt come from, because sometimes the way that you evolve these engines is by linking them to old graphical systems or physics systems and stuff. And basically, as technology gets better and better, it's like you start to realize that you're building off of frameworks that were built like 5 years ago. And it's like you open up the hood because you're like, okay, materials, we need to upgrade how our materials look. And then you see a spider web of code that dates back 7 or 8 years. And it's like, if you just strip out that code, everything breaks. And you have to basically rebuild kind of like the way that materials work from scratch. And that's kind of what they mean by that, where it's like, this is still the Halo engine, but they've uprooted a lot of stuff and rebuilt a lot of stuff. I hope that made sense. That's an extreme oversimplification of the way that, like, tech evolution works, but I hope that was understandable. Your Majesty, King Archibald, the, I can't read Roman numerals, so I'm just going to say the VII, says, will there be any returning characters? Arbiter, Locke, June, etc. What characters would you want to see return in an event or campaign? As far as the campaign goes, I hope I've seen the last of Agent Locke, as well as June. Not because, like, I hate June, you know, June's fine. But more so, I can't think of a reason for him to exist in the campaign, you know? But in multiplayer, that's where I could see a little bit more stuff happening. Think of kind of like Warzone, how Warzone has, like, this ongoing story. Now, it's Call of Duty, and it's stupid, but I would like to see these characters return in, you know, in like an online sense with each season. Beach Glow says, I wonder if the Banished armor is going to be like Halo 2 Brute armor, because you can shoot their helmets off. It seems to be that way. Their armor is incredibly reactive and responsive to like player inputs, which I really like. Nicholas Hersant says, I fear that Firefight and all those other features won't be until Season 2, in May at the earliest. That is, if they have the time, with Forge and co-op on top. Yeah. Yeah, they've got a lot on their plate right now. Lorded Jadis says, I was about to ask you regarding maps. Some of the original Big Team Battle maps would be a nice addition. I like the maps in Infinite, but the BTB map seems small or claustrophobic in comparison to the BTB maps of old. I think some of that is in part due to the mobility. It's kind of like so Halo 5's campaign, I remember it as being claustrophobic and very linear. But if I stop using my Spartan abilities like Clamber, Sprint, and Hover, and the Thruster Pack, suddenly those levels seem overwhelmingly large. But I do get what you mean, in that there's less sight lines. Lord of Jadis says, oh wait, no, I already answered that. Asa Morales says, does anyone else on controller not like how you have to look left and right to turn, compared to just having one stuck for both turn and speed? For turn and speed. Are you talking about Legacy, Asa? Asa, could you elaborate? Could you explain more about what your issue is? Because I think what you're describing is something we can actually fix right now in the settings for you. Noah Burke says, the maps need to be fun before competitive. Making a game too focused on competitiveness will kill the game fast. I know this from experience with Mortal Kombat X. Yeah, I think that like, so the competitive nature of Halo, I think, is more around map placement. You can take an incredibly, like, what is considered bad map in Halo, and all it takes is putting maybe a battle rifle here, a sniper there, and suddenly it's the most impressive competitive map in the entire series, you know? What do you think about movement tech, such as curb slide, ramp boost, sliding? I think it personally adds more skill gap to make you stand out from other players. I don't really think much of that. I think that stuff is, like, I don't know, you know? I've seen Shyway's videos, and I understand why he likes Halo 5's movement. I just don't really think that's what Halo is. You know, Halo isn't a game where, like, players are, like, slide, boost, thrust, dodging, like, around the environment. But I do agree that it adds to the skill gap in a sense. I guess it just matters what you view as being important to the Halo skill gap. I think that the skill gap can exist more around weapons than it does, like, if a player can, like, boost, thrust, dodge, slide, and fly across the map using core enhanced mobility, if that makes sense. As well as, like, map knowledge. boy. I think that's a sniper rifle. Here, we're gonna get out of here with the camo. Watch, we're just gonna sneak away. I'm just gonna let them capture that. There's like too many of them, unfortunately. I spoke too soon. I got a little bit scared. Thought that guy was gonna see me. Valkyrie says, "Hey Taras, I hope I can buy you a few coffees while you work on your next videos." Valerie, thank you so much. I will use those coffees well to fuel many writings. Oy, oy, oy. There we go. I appreciate it. Asa Morales says, "For vehicles, I have to use both the left for speed and the right analog stick to turn left and right. My button layout is on Legacy." Interesting. Okay. So, Asa, I don't know if you saw in the setting. Do you see this movement-assisted steering? Try toggling that on and off and see if that helps you, okay? What you're describing right now is actually very valuable feedback. And what I would say actually is if you have any social media on like Halo Waypoint, Reddit, or whatever, find a community manager from 343 and DM them that. Or maybe start a thread. Because that is valuable feedback. Because I know right now, currently, the Sandbox team, they're investigating player reports of vehicles not feeling good. And right now, the feedback is a little bit crazy, because a lot of people have different theories on why it doesn't feel good. So, Asa, you were very specific there with your feedback, and that's actually good. That's really good. You were able to identify what specifically felt wrong about steering. So that's actually something that the developers can slot into like their portfolio of, here's one thing that this community member said about the aiming, and the developers can actually act on that and analyze that and see what they can change. Hey, mate, I have a question for you. Do you think they will need to add something else to really bring a competitive scene to the game? I don't think what they have will work in the long run. Yeah, actually, I think... So currently, I think that the game is missing a couple of power weapon archetypes, as well as utility archetypes that add to the competitive nature of the game. I think the shell-loading shotgun has to come back. It's not just nostalgia purposes. There is an actual, like, tactical skill to the shell-loading shotgun as a power weapon that would benefit the combat loop. And I think currently Halo Infinite is kind of suffering from that. Like, the sword just doesn't work, you know, and the Bulldog definitely doesn't work. I also think that they need to make a weapon that is a lot harder to use for competitive. That's actually why the Commando, I was saying Commando starts could be interesting, because the battle rifle, I think this game has a very easy to use battle rifle. You know, it's not that hard to use, doesn't take a lot of skill. And I think they could do with maybe considering tuning the battle rifle, or if not tuning it, add a new battle rifle via DLC that is slightly harder to use and maybe has projectiles. So you have to lead your shots a little bit, because the more intricate like your starting weapon can be, the more interesting mechanically that it can be, the better a competitive scene you're going to get. And the beauty of Halo Sandbox is that battle rifle never needs to see the light of day outside of the competitive mode. You know? Not every weapon needs to be in every single playlist. Some weapons can be designed specifically for certain playlists. Hey, Late Night. I think that Halo 3 ODST has some better sandbox elements than base Halo 3. Thoughts? I actually agree with you a lot. Halo 3 is my favorite Halo game in the series. And that's due to a combination of, like, music, art, as well as a very healthy dose of nostalgia. But ODST, I actually think, has the stronger sandbox because it cut a lot of fat out of the game, stripped out a lot of stuff, and thus, as a result, I think it has a much stronger single-player sandbox. So you're not crazy. I agree with you. I do think ODST is, like, probably how Halo 3 should have been designed. Oh, boy. Shout out from Minnesota. Love your content. Thank you so much. Shout out from Virginia. CXN says, having an issue with mouse. My sensitivity is fine, but in little hiccups, my sensitivity gets heavier while my frames don't change much. Thoughts? Oh boy, that sounds like heavy aim. You know what's something you could do? So get your phone and identify areas of the game where you're like, all right, absolutely this corner of the map. If I look over here, my aiming has gotten heavier. And what you do is set your phone into that like slow-mo mode, record yourself moving your mouse with your monitor in view, and see, like, look at that slow-mo footage and see if there is indeed a change in your sensitivity. Damn it. I choked. Here, let's scroll up and see if I missed anything. Okay, I think I'm all caught up. Oh, wait, no, I spoke too soon. Beach Glow says, I wonder how Lasso is going to work in Infinite. Lasso has the potential to be very interesting. Incredibly interesting. Like, the more, like, open environments. You know what would be a lot of fun in Infinite? So, look at this. Settings, UI, boom. UI is now off. Could you imagine a campaign run on Legendary? No HUD. You know, maybe even self-imposed rules. Hidden Xperia were actually talking about that the other day, where we were like, some of us content creators, you could have classic runs where you have to stick with classic gameplay. Another thing you could potentially do is you could have melee-only runs and just dump all of your upgrade points into that grappling hook, since it's a melee ability. Like, there's lots of room for, like, fun and diverse ways to replay the campaign. But here, for the sake of fun, I am turning back on my HUD. Damn it. Darth Sonic 413 says, to the point about Lasso and Infinite, I can see a lot of new skulls being introduced that would relate to the side content. Yeah! You know what also would be really cool? So, I noticed something. And this is just a little thing for me, okay? This is more of like a subjective thing. It's not actually a criticism of the combat loop. I don't like when grunts melee. I'm not sure which game introduced it. I know that Halo Reach introduced grunts overcharging plasma pistols, and I don't like that either. I think only Jackals should be able to. And Halo 4 or Halo 5 introduced grunts meleeing the player. I think grunts are an enemy type that you should be encouraged to get close to by nature, so punishing you for getting close to them isn't how I would design them. And Halo Infinite has grunts that punch you if you get too close. I'd like to see a skull that removes their ability to punch you. And then that stopped me for a second. I was like, okay, wait, ignore my little nitpicking that's super annoying. Skulls that really manipulate the behavior of AI combatants and stuff like that. Like, we could go really, really far with that. You could have, like, a skull that makes only Jackal snipers. All enemies are just Jackal snipers. Or a skull that is, like, Grunt Bonanza Party, where it's everything in the game is now a grunt. Stuff like that. You know, or even a cowardly skull, where anytime a grunt so much as gets a whiff of the player, they start panicking and running. They'll never engage you. Noah Burke says, okay, last super chat. If you look at the quick play game list, I think that's definitely a picture of Infected. Let me see. Oh, here. This? I think that's just generic, like Spartans, being buddies, shooting things, Senuhit, I think I pronounced that hopefully right. He says, about my name, don't worry about it. You're good. About my $5 donation, I sent a $2 donation stating that the AR in Infinite has too much range. Yeah. I'm in agreement with you, buddy. Also, on the topic of names, what makes mispronouncing names even more frustrating for me is that I have a name that is often mispronounced too. So I become the thing I swore to destroy whenever I see a name I can't quite pronounce because I don't have familiarity with it. Oh, no, game list. Okay. We'll check it out, okay? He said game list, you silly Billy. Okay, alright. I'll take the L, guys. I'll look at it once this match is over, okay? Isaiah Marshall says, Battle Pass Band-Aid fix idea. Update the complete a match challenge so it always awards 75 XP, but never throttles. Also add a new daily win a match 50 XP daily challenge. Thoughts? Yeah, that's a good stopgap, because ultimately they're going to have to... they're not going to be able to invent a new battle, like a new progression system. Just like, boom, we now have it. They're going to have to get something in there fast as a sloppy but quick Band-Aid fix while they work on a proper progression system overhaul. And I agree, that is a pretty good temporary fix until something better can come along. Spartan 005, you says you gotta... Oh, no! Says you gotta click on the quick play game list and the infection picture is there. All right, buddy, I will click on that once we are out of here. Gavster Chief says, something I noticed about the chopper is that even though it looks like a menacing death machine, it sounds less powerful than a lawnmower. I also took note of how visually underwhelming the boost effect is, which I think is important. Thoughts? I noticed those too. It looks kind of like this flat, sterile, like, energy effect versus the one in Halo 3 and ODST, where it's more of like this angry flare of fire. Almost like something Mad Max-like. There's definitely, at least in my opinion, a downgrade in quality. And it doesn't seem to be a graphical issue. It seems to just be like an artistic choice to make the boost effect more of just this like this particle effect of energy. Agent Sakura says, I'm back with a vengeance and a new name. Windows 10 is currently updating, so I'm on my phone for the time being. Welcome back, Agent Sakura. Killer Panda says, I wish Elites looked a little bit more banished-y. Yeah, I can see that. Here, guys, you know what we're going to do right now? I need to emergency drain the main vein. I need to use the restroom stat, okay? The call of the wild. I can hear it. So we're going to hide here, all right? Chat, defend me, okay, as best you can. Talk angrily if people get close. I'll be right back, okay? Alrighty, friends, we are back. How did you do? Oh man, I see you all. Yeah, thanks, chat. You guys kept me safe. What happened? Oh, we were talking about elites. The banished elites. We'll have to see how they look in the campaign, because as we see more and more of the campaign, we see some more banished-y looking units. Some stuff definitely looks like the banished are using Covenant armor, but we are seeing like the Grunt Mule, where that guy definitely looks like a banished thing. Thank you for the power seed, my friend. I will make sure it gets to our base safely. Chuck it. Come on. Damn it. Okay. Throw it up here. Okay. I see a lot of super chats, all right? We're going to check them out, okay? Come on, throw them up. Come on, guys. It's okay, buddy. You don't need to run all the way up here. I think that you should get a sizable XP reward if you chuck a power seed to somebody and they're able to actually, like, slot it in. In fact, you should probably be rewarded the same amount, I think. Because, like, arguably, you contributed way more to getting that thing back to base than the person who was just sitting there and slotted it in. I don't know. What do you guys think about something like that? Damn it. There's something funky with the hit detection for that weapon. Yeah, there's a lot of super chats I missed. Don't worry. After this match, we're going to review all of them and discuss them, okay? Bam, 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 bam. So Beachglow says, if they do firefight, I hope there are bosses like the Brute Lieutenant. But go back to Halo 3 ODST firefight. Like, not as crazy as Halo 5. Yeah, I would like something structured more like ODST's firefight than the Halo 5 one, where it's more like... I think almost Halo 5's firefight, it's really hard to analyze. Like, some of it definitely is just bad design decisions. And the kind of, like, weaknesses of Halo 5 Warzone's AI. The Warzone in Halo 5 are significantly dumber than what's available in the campaign. Due to the amount of them, as well as, like, the online networking and stuff like that. I do think that they would benefit from setting it within a campaign environment. So you could have, like, stronger AI, as well as less players, because I think the more players are there, the more of a desire you feel to just flood the map with enemies, and eventually the combat starts to break down and it just becomes a shooting gallery. We're just gonna do a quick shooting range, okay? While I talk to some of you and read your super chats, okay? Noah Burke says, I don't think it's supposed to be there because I only see it. We gotta check out here. I go to map list, right? Wait, game list. I'll be damned. Yeah, they forgot to remove Halo 5's infection thing. That's funny. That was there in the flight, wasn't it? Let's go to Behemoth, the pretty one. Stephen Parker says, I always felt the assault rifle and pistol balance was weird in Halo, especially in Combat Evolved. The AR functioned like an SMG, and the pistol was basically a rifle. Yeah, that's, it's funny you say that, because that was partially why the assault rifle was removed from Halo 2, and the SMG was introduced. And then the pistol was turned into a very different weapon, and the battle rifle was introduced, to actually address that, what you just said. I know that 343 have said that playable elites won't be added, but do you think they could eventually add them? I think it could work like Reach's MP. What I'll say is keep harping on, okay? Don't let up. Playable elites have a place in Halo, and I think Halo is way better with them than without them. Especially people like Quinn Del Hoyo, who are sandbox leads on Halo Infinite. Quindel Hoyo, something that's really interesting about him is he worked on Gears of War Judgment, which, granted, it's considered the weakest of the Gears of War games, multiplayer-wise. But one thing that most people are unanimously in agreement with about his work on Gears of War Judgment is that asymmetrical game mode that he created. I forgot the name of it. Some of you probably know. It was really good. It was a lot of fun. And I could see him kind of like reviving that, spiritually with a player's, like, Spartans versus Elites game mode of some kind. There's room for the Elites. Keep giving them feedback about it, and they will return. Playing, here, let me go back up. Thoughts on people who bought campaign not getting anything, like armor or skin-wise in multiplayer? I'm kind of disappointed, to be honest. Yeah, so in my opinion, if you bought the game, you should not be treated kind of like a freeloader. I think that there needs to be a permanent XP boost of some kind applied to this first battle pass. Just, like, as a default, You're not playing the game free to play. You dropped a whopping $60 or more, depending on what edition you bought. And I don't think you should be greeted like you're a freeloader, essentially. I'd be curious to hear what you guys think. Teb says, favorite AI, I'm partial to Fret. I like the one that sounds like a text-to-speech program. I'm a big fan of that one. I forgot the name of it, though. Cleaner C Productions says, I know that 343 have said that playable... Oh, wait. I think I already read that one. Yeah. Chell Hunter says, what Halo Custom Edition maps would you like to see added to the MCC? I also made a mod I'd love for you to try out. If you made a mod, you should DM me on Twitter, email, like anything. I'd be curious to check it out once I have some downtime. So Ian Cassell says, what exactly do you do as a Forerunner? So basically what it is oh, hang on, Ian. I'm going to answer a couple that I missed, okay? Lord of the Slum says, playing with the AR for a bit, and I've got to say that it's a little too accurate and has really easy to control recoil. I do like the sidekick, though. Yeah, I do agree there. I think, like, the joy of AR starts is that the AR isn't a weapon that is the most viable thing on planet Earth. Like, it's got a lot of downsides, especially at a range, and it encourages you to get outside your comfort zone and start using other weapons. BR starts is more competitive, where it's like you spawn with this super precise ranged weapon. So having the assault rifle now be able to go toe-to-toe with a battle rifle, it's not much different from battle rifle starts. The only difference now is that you can't descope the battle rifle, and it's fully automatic. So you kind of get that, like, sweatiness from BR starts. Those are just my thoughts, though, So, what exactly do I do as a Forerunner? The Forerunners, we were basically brought in to give feedback. That's really it. Where it's 343 had a keen and strong desire to listen to the community and feel like the community's voices are being represented. Because it's hard to describe, because it's almost like, do you guys remember 2012 to 2015, where 343 was very locked off as a studio? They only really spoke in press releases. They weren't very engaged with the community. And, especially with Halo 5, because, like, that game kind of wasn't received very well and it alienated a lot of people. 343 wanted to turn around how the community perceives them, and they wanted to feel more in touch with their community. And so the Forerunners, that's essentially where we came in, where we represent different pieces of the community, and we can help get in there early and give feedback on the design process of the game so that it kind of becomes a game that people are happy with. And for all intents and purposes, Halo Infinite, we all have nitpicks about it, but something that we can all agree with. Okay, so people had a lot of complaints about the sandbox, right? People had complaints about the sandbox, the maps, the art style. Nobody's talking about that. The movement, nobody's really talking about that. The soundtrack, nobody's really talking. Like, the core is something solid, and that's kind of what we were for, to make sure that the core is solid. Now, going forward, all of your complaints can be addressed via DLC. Add some new weapons in there. Somebody likes the saw. Nothing is stopping them from adding back the saw. Darth Sonic says, you mean the superintendent? I mean that the lady, the text-to-speech lady, as my favorite AI. I haven't heard the superintendent yet, but it's Joe Staten who's voicing it, right? Agent Sakura says, honestly, whenever I think of an AI for MP, I have this unyielding desire to hear Shax yelling at me about grenades. Yeah. In fact, the butler, the, good work, Spot, and it unintentionally sounds like Lord Shax, and there's a reason for that. I think, so as a butler, the first thing I was thinking was, I don't like this butler. He feels like a Shax ripoff. Wouldn't a butler be saying, sir, your power weapon is available, or madam? And then I realized, oh, that's right. People are more inclusive and accepting of different identities and stuff like that. So they can't exactly gender something like that. So they just stuck with Spartan, which we're not going to get into that discussion because, the yelling is about to commence. We're going to quickly move on, but those are some of my thoughts. The butler, I do think they can punch up the dialogue a little bit for the butler to make him sound more like an Alfred Pennyworth than like a Lord Shax clone. Yeah, Luma, I think, is the one that I like. I love you. Greetings from Argentina. Greetings from the United States, my friend. How is the weather over there? It is getting very cold where we are. Thoughts on the Warthog? Feels like the weakest we have had, with huge amounts of AV, dynamo, grenades, etc. There definitely is something to be said about the sandbox and the way that it interacts with the vehicles. The static weapons are quite powerful. And something that does kind of suck a little bit about the buff that the shock rifle got is I do think that the shock rifle is an incredibly powerful tool. Not necessarily for killing, but for vehicles. It's very disruptive. And I think buffing the aim assist of it and turning it into a weapon that you can reliably now use against players and vehicles, if they're not careful, it could go wrong. But I don't see too many problems yet with it. Daniel Layton says, Lord Shax's clone is just being British. Nah, it's hard to explain. It's the, It's just the, oh, I can't wait to see what you do with that. There's just all of the dialogue is very similar to the way that Shax would talk up the players. It's hard to explain, because right now I'm focusing on the chat as well as talking. What are your thoughts on Season 1 being so long? You can complete it whenever, and there's not 6 months worth. You complete it whenever, and there's not 6 months worth of content in it, in my opinion. Yeah, there is definitely not 6 worths of content in here, and I'm getting Halo 5 content drought vibes. I'm remembering waiting over half a year for Infection and stuff, and I'm like, oh no, here we go again. 343 definitely struggles when it comes to not just delivering content, but even just meeting content parity with Halo titles that are years old now. Still to this day, Halo Reach had the biggest launch of any Halo game. after Reach, Halo games got smaller and smaller and smaller with each new release. Hey, Late Night, just started watching and thought I'd chip in. I completed all of my weekly challenges in the first 2 days and got to tier 7 of the Battle Pass. Thoughts? That's not good, tier 7. Obviously, you don't want players to be able to just rush through the whole thing, but I think it's unfortunately... So, listen to... Guys, I'm going to pitch an idea for you that might make Battle Passes more fun. And this is just me, okay? I'd like an ability to hide all the unlocks of the Battle Pass, okay? That way, every time I rank up, it's like, what am I going to get? Oh, okay. I feel like almost the fun of the Battle Pass, for me at least, is stripped out by the fact that I can see what I want and how long it's going to take me to get there. I'd almost like the ability to be pleasantly surprised when I do finally unlock my ODST helmet. I'm not sure how you guys feel. It's such a small non-issue. You know, that is entirely subjective, because you could also argue, bro, just don't look at your Battle Pass. But what do you think? It's almost like a quality of life thing that's not really an issue. One of my favorite things about Infinite so far is going into games and talking to other Halo fans about how much we love the game. What is your favorite thing so far? Yeah, okay, so it is very fun playing Halo Infinite and hearing a guy on chat, like, munching chips or something. Like, obviously, usually that's annoying, but the other night, 2 nights ago, I actually didn't mute my voice chat, and I listened. And then I heard somebody else saying, yo, bro, how did you call in that Warthog? And he said, oh, you can't do that. And he's like, what? There's no loadouts? And he was like, yeah, no, man, this is Halo. There's no loadouts. And they're like, oh, okay. And then he was like, yeah, you've got it. And they had a conversation where this guy was teaching the other player about the rules of Halo. And when the match ended, they were like, GG, one party up. And then they left. I don't know what they're doing right now, but I think I just saw the birth of a new friendship. You know? Like, I don't know, man. You know, just the social atmosphere of Halo is a lot of fun in Halo Infinite. And that's what I think I enjoy. I enjoy seeing old Halo fans interacting with potential new fans and, like, teaching them the ropes. Come on, Ghost. Get up here. Here, I was able to protect myself. That should have killed me. I'm glad I was able to stun him. Oh boy. Now he's for sure gonna kill me. Oh my god, I survived that encounter. Yeah, keep your mic on. You don't even... Sometimes, all you have to do is say, how are you guys all doing in the match? And wait for somebody to turn on their mic and say, I'm doing pretty good. How are you doing? It's really wholesome. Yeah, it brought me back to the old days of the 360, where just, like, online gaming, for consoles at least, was still so new that just, like, the idea of, like, I'm playing Halo with other people, like Halo 2 and Halo 3, like, voice chat, like, we lost a bit of that, because voice chat honestly isn't that impressive. Like, everything is voice chat. And now even you get people who get very tired kind of at the end of the day, and they don't really want to talk to each other. They want to just relax. But it is fun when you hear people talking. Like, I enjoy that. Just leaving the chat on. And even if it's like weirdos who are just like screaming or making silly voices, that's an interesting character. You know, that I'm like, you know what? That was something to remember. That guy who was making that weird voice, like, that's a story you can take with you. London Conrad says, just subscribed after I saw you and Xperia talk. Got me interested in your channel too. Welcome to Late Night Gaming. I hope you enjoy your stay, man. I've got a question. What kind of content do you like? Do you prefer more analyses type stuff, or do you prefer more gameplay unscripted type stuff? I'd be curious to hear your thoughts. Bro, why do you talk in such an articulate manner? Even when you're talking normally, it feels like you're explaining a point. So, something that's kind of interesting about me, I have seen some people talk about like the way that I script things, and they're like, bro, you use so many words. The reason why actually is because from a young age, my dad actually had me writing essays. I remember I was writing 5-paragraph essays when I was 10. As well as like reading great illustrated classics, and then eventually, when I was like, how old was I when I read Little Women? But it was probably like too young to be reading a book like that. So I don't know, just like writing is a lot of fun to me. It is a lot of fun. It's definitely it's something that I have heard, and I am working on maybe toning it down a notch. That way you guys can just, like, understand what I'm saying. But it's just, like, I just enjoy writing, It's a lot of fun storytelling. So even, like, with articulating stuff, I feel like it makes things a little bit more clear. At least for me, it makes things a little bit understandable. Some of that also is a theater background. When I was younger, I was super into drama, so you better believe that I was in all of the drama classes at school. So, here, let's back up a little bit. Let's catch up. Somebody says, I miss the DMR. I'm okay without the DMR. I think that the DMR, actually, interestingly enough, I think Reach was really the only game where the DMR felt important. The DMR was essentially almost like a spiritual return of the Halo Combat Evolved pistol. The idea of this, like, single-shot utility weapon. And when the battle rifle was brought back, the role of the DMR started to get muddy. And then with Halo 5, it was essentially, like, sniper but slightly weaker. And it felt kind of like identityless, like it was losing its purpose. So I'm not... As far as designs go, oh man, the DMR is cool. But as far as, like, its role within the sandbox, I'm not too gutted. But since Halo Infinite is a live service game, like, screw it. Let's have them all back. Let's have the classics come back, Clockwise says, how do you feel about the Harbinger's role in Halo? Do you think the saga should be Forerunner related still? Didact returning might be cool with Harbinger. So what I'm more interested in... What I'm more interested with the Harbinger is if she is a new character. I have seen theories about maybe she's a precursor, maybe she's related to the Flood, maybe blah, blah, blah. Like, I think what would be super cool is if the Harbinger was something we've never seen in a Halo game before. Because I think if the Harbinger is related to the Flood or the precursors or whatever, we're already 10 steps ahead of the story. But if it's something we've never seen in a Halo game before, we're all in the same boat. Like, where's this going? What comes next? So the Harbinger's role in the story, I hope she's not a Forerunner. I hope she's something completely new. Because I want a good mystery. I want something that we're going to go onto the forums and argue about. Where it's like, what is this? We're going to be scouring the books to see if maybe there were references to her and stuff. But if it's like, oh, she's a precursor. Okay, she's probably after this. Like, I want us to be behind the curve a little bit when it comes to the narrative, if that makes sense. There should be a skull where it switches your Marines to the Swords of St. Helios, or maybe depending on what Marine holds, is what they turn into. Marines with ARs turn into elites. Marines with a rocket turns into a hunter. That's a cool idea for a skull. We were talking earlier about skulls almost being a spiritual return of cheat codes that modify gameplay behavior. That would be really cool, right? If all all Marines were turned into Covenant of some kind, or I guess, like, you know, banished, or hell, Swords of St. Helios. Ooh, excuse me. I am a 7th grader, and I just skipped to 8th grade math. What was your experience with school as a child, particularly math? Oh, man. Okay, so we're going to talk about writing. I was always pretty good in writing. You know what I wasn't pretty good in? Math. I failed every single math SOL in high school. Okay, that might be an exaggeration, but it's... all I can really remember is, like, seeing a D and thinking, holy moly, that was, like, better than I thought I was going to do. Just math and I have been sworn enemies for years now. I've never been very good at math. And what kind of sucks also about math is that I'll find, like, my own solutions to math problems, and it's like, this makes way more sense to me. It's more organized looking to me, and I can follow it. But since I did the math problem wrong, it wasn't correct. And it's like, the thing is, like, everybody, like, digs on teachers, and they say teachers suck. Like, trust me, being a teacher is really hard. You know, they don't have a lot of resources, especially with the American education system, which is so, like, disgustingly underfunded. Like, teachers struggle. The reason that they're so strict about you solving the problems the way they taught is so that it's easier on them. Like, they're already so overworked. But yeah, like, just, I don't know. Math is not very... it's not very creative, at least in a school environment. There isn't a lot of flexibility. You have to kind of learn to solve math a very specific way. And that specific way I found to be very hard to follow for whatever reason, just the way my brain worked. So I just was never very good at math. Thankfully, though, I did make up for that in other areas. Social studies, I was awesome at. Writing, I kicked ass. Theater and drama, man, I owned that. It was just math that was the weak link for me. And I'm okay with that. I think a skull where all your Marine allies would turn on you and start trying to kill you would be cool. That's more or less a gameplay mechanic, right? Like those moments where you kind of break continuity and for a second you actually go off script and start gunning down Marines and they're like, what's going on? And they start shooting you too and then you die. Or are you talking about Marines are permanently like a hostile force in the environment? Like, as you approach friendly Marines, like they instantly turn hostile, like they're another enemy type. Because, hey, that's a fun idea for a skull, you know? Mr. Rafflecopter says, don't worry, LN, I'm great at math. I'll do your homework for you. Thank you. Thank you. I'll reach out to you when I need help with homework. Benjamin Yang says, I really miss having encounters and battles like the Scarabs from Halo 3. We're going to talk about that in a second, because that's a very interesting conversation topic. Lord of the Slum says, I think every Halo match has a potential to tell a story. I don't play online that much, but I love playing with other people. I'm always hyped to go home and play Halo. Yeah, in fact, actually, Battle Royales, I spent a lot of time on PUBG, and by a lot of time, I mean... I played the game for like 24 hours, I think exactly. At least Steam says so. And I started to lose interest in PUBG once they started to make the progression system a thing. And the Battle Pass, I was like, now it's not so much fun. And I never went after chicken dinners in PUBG. What was more fun to me was finding, like... the story I can take away of I was cowering in the bathroom and I heard footsteps downstairs. And I sat there with my shotgun and then the door opened and boom, I immediately started blasting. I went out, started, checking out his stuff, but there was someone hiding in the floor above me who I didn't know was there. And that person came down and killed me. That's that did happen to me, by the way. That's why I can recount that example so well. It's that I played those Battle Royales for. So the fact that now they're kind of all about, like, upgrading your... I'm like, it's not so much fun anymore. Omar says, what if Harbinger is a meddler? I mean, hey, you could do that. The meddlers are a great mystery that we don't know a lot about. Yeah, I meant Marines would be constantly hostile. Yeah, there we go. Then yeah, that's an interesting idea for a skull. So, okay, scarabs. Let's talk about that comment from Benjamin Yang. So I think the scarabs, it's almost like less about the scarabs, and it's, I mean, obviously scarabs are cool. Scarab fights are awesome, but it's that idea of like that huge sandbox puzzle to solve, where it's just like this giant entity is dropped into the environment, and you're just like, oh, and you immediately start looking around. Like that, on the Storm, I think that Scarab encounter is one of the most cleverly designed encounters for a game. The one on the Ark, I think, is a little bit less impressive, because it's just like a flat field, you know? But on the Storm, it's like you've got this elevator you can take to get above it. You got Marines on mongooses everywhere, and they all have rocket launchers. You can use them. You've got missile pods. Like, there's just it's like this curated sandbox environment where a problem is dumped on the player and the solutions to the problem are all around you. And the game doesn't tell you what the solutions are either. You just know that you're not going to be able to take it down without help from the environment around you. And I think that's kind of like the key to like what made those Scarab encounters so fun to fight, is that it's a problem that required a solution, and that solution is in the level somewhere. And now you just start exploring. And I would like to see Halo do some more of that stuff. It's probably a little bit trickier with the grappling hook, since by that very nature, like, think about this from a campaign setting. You could have a jackal right there, which means if I want to get up there, I have to fight this jackal. Or I could just, like, ignore the jackal and just do that, you know? The game basically gave me a tool to ignore the problem and solve it myself with an ability. And so I could see Scarab battles being a little bit hard to pull off in the campaign. Even that suggestion I told you about the elevator, that probably wouldn't work well with a grappling hook, since you could just scale the side of the wall, you know? You don't need to use the elevator. Some people got confused when I talked about finite equipment before, because they were like, wouldn't it encourage exploration? I hope that I was able to articulate what I meant by encouraging exploration, where I think if you're at an inherent disadvantage, it forces you to learn the environment in a more intimate way, if that makes sense. For a solution to your problems. Hopefully that made sense. And I think that that's the beauty of the Scarab, that the solution is not in your hands. You need to explore the environment to find it. Is SWAT confirmed, or is it like infection? Yeah, we can't find SWAT for some reason. Hopefully it's just like, I don't know. Hopefully that's just like a mistake, or it'll be there on the 8th. But yeah, SWAT doesn't seem to be here, just like infection. What's your opinion on the Kraken from Halo 5, says Beachglow. It's a lot like the Scarab from Halo 2 as like a missed opportunity, where it's... The Kraken, it's really hard to call the Kraken an environment, or like a sandbox element. It's a building that is scripted to move in a very specific way, you know? It's not an entity, it's a building that moves to position and then freezes. It would have been more interesting if the Kraken was actually like dynamic as an entity and actually moving around the environment and throwing things around. Will Ketterer says, the difference between scaling the mountain with the grappling hook and learning how to point out the path by foot. Yeah, it's basically that. Where it's like, a trek through the woods is a lot more fun if you're on the path. You know, as opposed to like, I want to get to the end, like basically enjoying the walk. you know, as opposed to just taking off sprinting through the forest and I'm going to get there faster by doing this. Like, I'd like to slow down and follow the path, see what, you know, where it leads me. That's kind of the way that I enjoy things. I think it makes levels a little bit more memorable. But obviously that is also, you know, very personal preference, because I have a bad habit of optimizing my gameplay. So for Halo 5, for example, I had a bad habit of just skipping a lot of the level, because it's just, I need to get up there, thrust, dodge, clamber, slide up there, and there's a ladder over there, and there's some Covenant on that ladder, or not ladder, but like stairs. Like, I could have taken that and engaged those Covenant, maybe even explored the corner to see if there's a weapon. I think I choked. I could have taken that guy, right? In fact, I have a pretty large appreciation for levels like Blue Team from Halo 5's campaign, because of my recent self-imposed classic run of the campaign, where I gave everybody more health using that skull, set it to easy, because of the combat loop is, you know, Halo 5, the AI are very aggressive in that game, and there's a lot of them. But easy, like the damage they dish out, is good enough. And giving them more health means that, like, weapon rolls require a bit more use. You know, that plasma pistol suddenly has way more importance. And don't scope in with anything but a sniper rifle, because then it also forces you to, you can't just use anything you want at a range. If you want a ranged weapon, start looking for one. And there you go. You're exploring, you know? And there's a lot of hidden goodies in Halo 5's campaign that I was surprised I missed, because I was too busy flying across the level and ignoring the level. And it was just an interesting experience. Mr. Rafflecott here. Let's actually scroll up. Okay. Mr. Rafflecopter says, of the methods to unlock armor in the franchise, which would you prefer or for Infinite? Achievement-based in Halo 3, CR-based in Reach, or more like the MCC? I'd actually prefer something kind of like Halo 4. Halo 4 had a pretty solid progression system. You know, I mean, minus like, you know, the loadouts and stuff like that. I didn't mind Halo 4's progression system. I almost wouldn't mind like a hybrid of Reach and Halo 4. Have like some currency in there for getting certain doodads and knickknacks, but yeah. Damn it. I'd be curious to hear your thoughts. Yeah. Damn it. I'll read more after this is done. Damn it. Okay. This is also a bad habit I like to do. I don't know if this is just me. So look at this. When I reload a weapon, do you see the way I bob to the weapon reloads? I like doing that in games. I feel like it adds a little bit more personality to them. See, like that? I don't know, it's just like a fun little quirk that I like to do in first-person shooters. Oof! Let's get out of here. That was a bizarre sound I made. Guys, I'll never make that sound again, I promise. Let's get to a safe zone and then read the next. We're hiding. Okay. Hound says, I think that many will miss the battles alongside with the Marines on the UNSC facilities. In Halo 4 and 5, there were just few, and in Infinite it will be even less, to fight not on futuristic levels. Oh, you're talking about like industrial locations and stuff. I definitely did think about that, so open world games, like one of the weaknesses, unfortunately, of an open world game is that you exist within that environment, you know? There isn't exactly like this is the level in the woods. The next level is set on a water park. Like, you don't have a lot of variety because you're existing in one location. So even, unfortunately, not just mechanically, but narratively, there are certain restrictions to that, which is, quick, an open world game where a bad guy has assumed control of a location and you have to liberate that location from them. how many open world games did I just describe there? You know, and it's the reason it's like that is because, you know, you got to have a reason for not moving on to the water park level, the level on a space station. You got to have a reason to stay in one spot, and it's usually Liberation is the go-to plot convenience. So I definitely understand your point, which is it will be interesting to see if they can squeeze some of those like set PC levels in Halo Infinite where we're in places like a space station or something like that. That was a scuffed battle. Did you see that? A random critique, but I really want to have the ability to rejoin cup matches when you disconnect, like any other competitive game. That would be pretty nice. Can't turn off anti-aliasing. It's a blurry mess, says Melee. You probably could force it off in the NVIDIA control panel. But I do agree there. I think they're using a temporal anti-aliasing solution, and I almost wonder if like aspects of it are almost like baked into the game. It is weird that they don't let you flat out remove it. I wonder if it's like somehow tied to the dynamic resolution scaling, and they're worried that the game will look too frazzled and like, you know, pixelated when the resolution starts adjusting. Like, the anti-aliasing doesn't just smoothen out the image, but it reconstructs aspects of it to make sure that it's extremely clean. And the game looks a lot more just, like, crazy when you have it flat out turned off. But enforcing it, you know, and not giving players the option to still opt out of it if they want, like, it's not ideal. Oh, here. Ah, somebody already got it. That's okay. Here, let's go up this way. Hello? I hear firefights. Where is everybody? Oh, there they all are. They're all hiding over there. Oop. Melee says he tried and it doesn't work. Interesting. Beach Glow says, so I wonder if there's going to be dungeons in Halo Infinite like Destiny 2 where there's a mini boss and he might have something unique. I'd be more interested in narrative rewards than like you getting a weapon variant. At least for me, because I'll explain why. So like Destiny, I think, is a game where you are gathering loot. And I think Halo is more of a game where you are, like, the fun of it is solid encounter design. Like, the Covenant combat rhythm, man, it is good, you know? And I think that the dungeons and stuff like that they had described for Halo Infinite, they have the potential, to kind of, like, give us some of those more linear experiences that we're used to, like linear levels and stuff. Like, if, you know, the open world kind of, I go to a place, I clear it out, I go to a place, I clear it out. If that starts getting tedious for you, you seek out these dungeons, and then you get something more linear and curated, where it's like, that was a fun encounter with those banished. And then you move on to the next room, and now there's Jackal snipers, and it's just this paced, curated experience that the developers clearly spent a lot of time considering and wanting to pace correctly. That way everyone can kind of have what they want. Because there are some people who really do enjoy, like, the aspect of kind of, like, opening up your map, placing a waypoint, and just going to that waypoint and seeing where it takes you. Woo. There's a lot more pieces available on Waypoint than in the game. Thoughts? I'd like to hope that that's because of the beta, quote-unquote. But, yeah, there's a lot of stuff that's missing. Not just, like, armor, but... not just armor, but, like, maps, modes. Like, this is definitely kind of akin to Halo 5, a very unfinished game. right now, at least, in my opinion. What do you think of id Software style shooters? What do you mean by id Software? Because I feel like id Software has made so many different kind of shooters. We want SWAT and shoddy snipers like right now. Yeah, see? There's some missing modes that should be here and for some reason aren't here. Wish you could choose modes. Feels like a lot of content right now. Feels like it lacks a lot of content right now. Tired of playing Hold the Skull. Yeah, I agree there. It's not up to snuff. There needs to be more content. There needs to be more ways to play. Because right now, Halo Infinite is like almost like it's really scared of you just having fun on your own. You know, I really like Oddball. But that's just me. But I also really like Infection, and the fact that there's no Infection playlist is like, what? I mean, it's a beta. I don't know why most of you are complaining. Just be happy you can play it right now. So, Isaac, what I would say to you is, what is the purpose of a beta if not for feedback? I'll just leave that there. It doesn't make any sense for the game to not include modes that are very basic remixes of Slayer. Yeah, there's some stuff like SWAT. You don't really need, like, you know, the whole song and dance production value for SWAT. Just turn off shields and give everyone a battle rifle. So the fact that it's just flat out not here is very strange. Vidmaster Moa says, what price for a full armor set do you think is fair? Oh man, $6, $7. I think anything higher than that and you're crazy, get out of here. And yes, I saw the $20 armor set and my response to that is, you're crazy, get out of here. I do think when it comes to esports type stuff, you have a little bit more wiggle room, since that's like the equivalent of buying a jersey for your favorite team. But if it's non-esports related stuff, like, come on, $20? You know, a third the price of the video game? Do you think mods will be big for Halo Infinite? Sadly, a part of me doubts that just because of the nature of it being this highly monetized live service game. I'm worried that Microsoft will, like, lock down the game as much as possible. As well as the fact that, you know, unfortunately, guys, this game's free to play. It's only a matter of time before the modders and the hackers start to infest. You know, they're right now learning the engine. And, unfortunately, I think mods will get harder and harder to do in the game. Toasty says, quote, quote, Halo Reach customization. Yeah, it's not quite Halo Reach, is it? Off the bat, it's already missing playable elites. I don't understand why cosmetics in games are so expensive. You won't be able to use them anymore once the servers go offline. Yeah, that's why I actually prefer paid DLC content. Like, map packs, for all of their problems, I at least like that I bought, like, I bought the maps, essentially. Cosmetics are almost more of, like, the digital equivalent of a coffee mug with a logo on it, you know, where it's just like you get home and now you've got this coffee mug and you're just like, why'd I buy this? And the problem is the coffee mug I can at least drink with. I can hold pencils in it. There's a lot of utilities I can use, but assault rifle but blue, there's not a lot you can do with that. Ah, damn it. And it's also very hard, I guess, because this is the first Halo game that's free to play properly. And so us Halo fans, we're usually greeted to like a wealth of content to unlock. And this is the first Halo game where we didn't actually need to pay for it. Entry was guaranteed. And to make up for that, we see a lot of content that the game wants us to buy. And it's very different. And you know, I don't know, man. And it doesn't help as well that the progression system itself, like the XP distribution, is just wrong. So it's one of the most unrewarding Halo progression systems I think I've ever played. You can flex on people with your drip. That's a lot of utility, in my opinion. That is some utility. But, can you guarantee that you're flexing on them? Because I've been killed by a couple of people that I recognize are wearing, like, stuff that they bought. I just don't care. That's not impressive to me, you know? Like, sorry, man, you're not flexing on me. I don't care. I think you look ugly. And, you know, that's kind of like the problem. It's like, I feel almost like that's almost like demeaning to you, you know? You should be able to flex on people. How would you design that? Something that I thought could be pretty fun, Luke had pitched the idea of animation packs, where your guns just have completely different animations. Like, this Bulldog, you could have, like, tactical Bulldog, where it looks more like Modern Warfare-like. Or you could almost have like an N64 Bulldog, where the animation looks super stiff, janky, and like something that came out 25 years ago. Or you could have like, you know, okay, Star Wars. You could have a crossover with Star Wars. The Force Bulldog animation, where you use the Force to reload this gun. Stuff like that would be more interesting to me than like the color blue, or my Bulldog has a dragon on it. Like, stuff that like changes the presentation of the weapon animation-wise would be really fun. And then also, so keep in mind also, like, these are just like my thoughts, you know, as someone, like, these are what I see value in, and I totally understand that, like, if you actually do see value in, like, a weapon skin. Because Lord knows if they're gonna release a cosmetic that is, like, the Halo 3 assault rifle with the little green lights on the side. Oh, I'm buying that, because I have a lot of nostalgia for Halo 3. You know? It really does matter what we all find value in, I guess. So I'd be curious to hear, like, some of your thoughts, you know? Something that I worry about with, like, those crazy dragon skins, like, a Halo 3 assault rifle, that's timeless to me. But Santa Claus assault rifle, for me, what I immediately think is, okay, so, like, right now, I look at the store for Halo Infinite, and you know what I think? None of these are worth it, because in 6 months, there's going to be something cooler. So just save my money. And in 6 months, I'm going to look at the store and I'm going to think, none of this is worth it, because watch, in 3 months, there's going to be something cooler available. Like, everything I buy right now, that's just money I could have spent a couple months later on something that is even cooler looking. I feel like almost like all of these cosmetics, they're unless they are something nostalgic, like specifically Halo themed, like you know, Reach, like a gold dragon skin. Like, guys, you're probably gonna get 2 dragons that are gold and red a couple years from now. Like, unless it's something very reverential and nostalgic for the series. Like, all the new stuff, just wait, save your money. You're gonna see something cooler in a couple months' time. And then, as you start to buy more and more cosmetics, you can't equip them all at the same time, right? So there's some things that you probably spent like $20 on that are just sitting in your inventory, and you're never going to equip them again. And that's kind of why I prefer more tangible stuff, I guess, like, you know, map packs, campaign DLC, animation packs, and stuff like that. I guess, like, I look at, like, all the stuff in Vanguard right now, I'm like, guys, another Call of Duty is coming out in 11 months. Like, all the cosmetics that you see in that Vanguard store, they're going to be irrelevant in 11 months. Just wait. Stephen Parker says, I honestly want to know the thought process behind the system. I can't think of any other game that doesn't have per-match XP in some form. I know Call of Duty is starting to drift towards that, chaining you to challenges. It's like, it's conditioning you to stay with the game. You know? It's like you were a good boy. You completed a task, here's a treat. I believe that's the why you see a lot of games adopting challenges and stuff. It's a way to keep you with the game. I think they just don't want to split up the player base with multiple queues, whether the old games did it or not. Oh, definitely. Like map packs split up the player base because it's the haves and the have-nots. You know, and that's a problem. I'm someone who really enjoys map packs. But when it comes to the issues with a map pack, I'm going to sit it out, you know, because what I enjoy is that I paid a flat fee and I got a tangible chunk of content that is now mine forever. That I can play on. It's something like I can engage with on a mechanical level. Versus a skin where it's a purely aesthetic level. And when people argue about splitting up the player base, no, they're right, you know. I'm not going to argue in favor of map packs. I'm just telling you why I like them, if that makes sense. Benjamin Yang says, a lot of war games, I feel, don't have suppressive elements, like to make players stay covered, and that's why I miss the flamethrower and flame grenades that have stopped bum rushes because you have shields. Yeah, it's funny you say suppressive elements, because Battlefield 5 got rid of a pretty controversial system, which is if you take fire in Battlefield, not necessarily even being hit, if bullets are landing around you, your soldier becomes more inaccurate. And it was this suppression mechanic. And you got suppression assists. And with Battlefield 5, they actually got rid of that. And so just, if you're under fire or not, like your weapon will always go where you're aiming. I actually like suppression systems. Because it's kind of like a Halo's D-scope mechanic. Halo's D-scope mechanic is a really good suppression system. Because you can't just stay scoped in. You eventually do have to concede defeat. You're suppressed. You gotta back up and see if you can find a better position. I think there's value to suppressing a player. And I get that there's like a lot of people that, you know, want like... You know, they think about it more from their point of view. Because, like, ultimately, if you're not having fun with the game, then maybe there are flaws in the system that need to be revisited. But I'm also somebody who is able to work with a game's rules, I guess, if I enjoy the game. So, like, if a game is slightly janky, but I like the core game, I can easily excuse the jank and work with the game on its own terms. So suppression systems like the one in Battlefield, I liked it, you know? I understood why it was there, and whenever I'm suppressed, I'm like, got it, I need to move. I don't start getting frustrated and try to shoot at the player despite knowing my bullets aren't going to hit. I think that you would get like 100 XP for winning or doing well in a lot of matches because of how people just play every mode like Slayer. Yeah, definitely. I think even just like, you know, on the topic of people playing modes like Slayer, the reason why is because they're joining a capture the flag match. First thing they're looking for is a bulldog because they have to get 10 kills with the bulldog or something like that, you know? Like right now, I am tunnel vision focused on whatever it is that my that my challenges are telling me to do. I didn't even notice this was a Slayer match. There's no reason to engage with the game beyond what the challenges are telling you to do. Battle Pass feels lacking in armor and weapon skins. I definitely agree there. It could be beefed up a little bit. I don't even think it's lacking in armor and weapon skins. I think the problem is there's a lot of padding. Because the armor and the weapon skins that are there are really cool. It's just there's so much junk that it's like you look at it and it's just like... It's like the wow factor of the armors is lost by the fact it's just like overload. There's too much stuff there and not a lot of it has value. That was a pretty good splatter, right? I felt good about that. I like the way the Banshee feels in this game. It feels really, like, heavy. It almost feels like a more realistic Combat Evolved. Because, look, see, it can kind of, like... It can hover just a little bit. I do wish that they'd bring back the ability for the Banshee to kind of, like, VTOL hover in the air. Let's go over and get this guy. Oh, God. Oh, God, we're doomed. Let's get out of here. Okay. I'm going to catch up on some of your comments, but... Oh boy. Here we go. All right. Let's read some of your chats. We're having some really interesting conversations, you know? You all are being awesome, by the way. Like, this is super interesting. And then not just beyond, like, my responses. Like, I'm reading some of the stuff that you guys now are ping-ponging off of each other. And that's actually really cool to see, you know? You're an insightful bunch. You all are pretty smart. Can I just say that? Because even those who disagree with some of my takes, I like that you're explaining your point of view. Because I'm like taking in that information, being like, got it, and then storing that in the back of my head as a variable to consider later on. Rebecca actually is like awesome, because she is relatively new to Halo. So hearing her unfiltered thoughts about Halo has reconsidered like a lot of things that I think about now. Where it's like, huh, I hadn't considered that. And I just store those in the back of my head now. Here, let's catch up on some of these. Off topic, would you make a video on Halo Legends? The anime? The Halo anime? I could probably. I actually remember one day... This is actually a fun story. It's one of my favorite Halo memories, actually. I played hooky from school. Or not hooky, but, you know, the... Like, I'm not feeling well, I'm staying at home. And really, I just did that so that I could play Halo Reach's Forge mode all day. And what I did was... So, I wasn't super online at the time. So, stuff like Halo Legends, I actually didn't know about. And... I saw this Halo Legends thing, and I was like, what is this? Somebody had uploaded the full thing to YouTube, and I was like, okay. And I remember that afternoon, watching Halo Legends in my pajamas, while making a... What was the map? I'm trying to remember. I can visualize it in my head, but I don't remember all of the details. I could probably recreate it from memory, to be honest. I was trying to make a city, and I just remember, like, the computer... had Halo Legends playing, and on the TV, I had Forge mode open, and I was making that city in Halo Reach's Forge tool. And I haven't watched Halo Legends since. Jake Frodsham says, if you win a game, it has a 1.5 or 2x times on challenges. Is that how you would balance the progression system? Because if so, that's actually kind of interesting. Could you go more in depth with that? Or is that how it is? Sequia Rice? Gosh, I hope I did not butcher that. Donated $5. Thank you so much. I really appreciate it. Here we go. What do you think about 343 reusing Halo Reach assets? Are they reusing Halo Reach assets? I don't think they are. They're, like the armors, you mean? Because those aren't Reach assets. They made those. They modeled them. If it was a Reach asset, you would know. It would look like an Xbox 360 asset. They had to make these from scratch. I'm pretty sure there's more polygons in a single, like, hand than there are on, like, all of those, like, Reach Spartans. That was an exaggeration. That was hyperbole, in fact. Damn it. The only Reach asset I can think of that 343 has been using was the Halo Reach plasma rifle, which the one in Halo 5 is actually the Reach model. They tweaked it a little bit, but it's that same Reach model. Because there are some assets in Halo Reach that have stood the test of time to the point that you could port them to a next-gen game, upgrade the materials and the texture work, and, like, it looks pretty good, you know? Here, why don't we just do bot boot camp? See, I'm starting to get tired now of just playing 4v4 versus or big team battle. Like, where's Fiesta, guys? I want to have fun. Clone Delta 22 says, progression more like MCC. 2. Co-op, campaign. 3. MCC style game browser. 4. Forge with AI. 5. OG Magnum and Shotgun. 6. ODSTs and pods you can call in. 7. Playable elites. 8. Reach-esque firefight with Forge. Is that all stuff that you're suggesting? Because everything you said was mwah, perfect. I am with you. Those all sound like things I'd like the game to have. Zataran says, genuinely can't stop playing this game right now. I'm having so much fun playing it. It's definitely a good feeling game. It's definitely a very good feeling game. The actual kinetic feel of the weapons in this game is fantastic. And this is also something that I think is worthy of praise. If you go over here, you can turn off the hit detection. Halo 5 didn't let you do that. Granted, you know, Halo 5 was also Halo's like first step into like proper audio options. If we're not counting, like, Gearbox PC Halo. But, okay, sorry, I just got zoned out. 343's provided a lot of options here. And also, I think what contributes, actually, to the good game feel is this game has a really good hit marker sound effect and kill confirmation sound. It's there for those who want, you know, like that good, healthy feeling, like, you know, the game made a sound I like whenever you get a kill. But for those who prefer something a little bit more, like, I guess, like immersive, then you can turn it off. And I think that that's worthy of praise. Halo didn't used to have that. Now it does, and Halo is better for it. I know for the campaign personally, I'm going to turn off the hit marker sounds because I want to be able to hear like the ping, ping of like the bullets impacting the enemies. I don't want to hear, you know, the like like sounds of the hit marker. Something I would actually like to see is the ability to turn off the hit marker visual, because I do think, so what I'm thinking is for the multiplayer, this feels so nice, you know, seeing like that hit marker. But for a campaign, all I can think about is I want to see the headshot that I land, and I won't be able to see it if that big red X is in the way, you know? Have you considered revisiting the Hunt the Truth audio podcast as a standalone production separate from Halo 5? I think in isolation it's aged very well. Oh, I don't even think it's aged well. I think it's great. Like, Hunt the Truth is, if you divorce it from Halo 5, hell, even if you divorce Hunt the Truth from Halo, Hunt the Truth is an excellent mystery podcast set in a science fiction universe about the government lying to its civilians about super soldier experiments. It is just a really good podcast. I think the weakest aspects of it come in Season 2 when they properly do start connecting it to Halo 5. Because, like, all the stuff of, like, hunting down, you know, like, the origins of the Master Chief, Jerome, and stuff like that, like, that's all great. I love Hunt the Truth. Hunt the Truth's really good. Beach Glow says, I hope in the campaign we fight in an arena similar to the library from Halo Combat Evolved. That would be pretty nice, wouldn't it? I'm just ignoring the battle pass and playing for fun. You know, that's probably the best way to do it. I actually did that with Back 4 Blood. I saw that the campaign had no progression system. You had to go online. So what I did was I went out of my way to ignore all online components of that game. And I had a really good time with it. I had all those like cards unlocked, I guess. And you know what? The cards that you get from online, I don't care. I do not care about them. I am not going to unlock them. I enjoyed my time not unlocking things and just playing Back 4 Blood offline. And, you know, just due to like core issues with the game, I eventually did stop playing it. The honeymoon phase wore off, so to speak. Rebecca can attest for that. There was a hot minute where Back 4 Blood was the thing I was crazy about. And, you know, eventually, like, the serotonin left my brain. And I started to think more clearly, and I was like, you know what, this game has problems. But yeah, that might be the best way to enjoy Halo Infinite right now, is if literally just pretend like there isn't a progression system. Play the modes you want. Play how you want to play. Ignore it, all right? The game's in beta. Sorry, guys, there's no progression system. Hopefully there will be a progression system on December 8th, so just enjoy the gameplay. Turner says, Jesus, you are still streaming. I am still streaming, and trust me, Turner, I am feeling that Jesus, you know? Reddit is a terrible place to share that you actually like the customization not locked behind a paywall. Everyone says, why does it matter? You can't see it, and I hate that as an example. Unfortunately, Reddit is also kind of like a cesspool. Reddit is like a disgusting cesspool. But, maybe try, like, forums kind of like Waypoint and stuff like that. Definitely Twitter helps, you know? But even Twitter is a bit of a cesspool. Connor says, I mean, they aren't creating new designs, but they're just copying what already exists. They are making new designs. In fact, Halo Infinite has a whole suite of armors that are brand new to the Halo universe. The Battle Pass is called Heroes of Reach, and it's all Reach-themed cosmetics. But Halo Infinite does have original armors and stuff. I think maybe what you're a little bit confused by is the fact that like Season 1 isn't all exclusively new armors. Season 1 basically is all focused around nostalgia for Halo Reach. Because I think Halo Infinite's original armors are all pretty solid. They look like incredible. Like the new, what is it called? The new helmet, the new Mark whatever helmet. It looks pretty nice. Agent Sakura wonders how many green names are in the chat. How many channel members? Yeah, I see you guys when you're commenting. You guys are awesome. Steak-tacular. Lol, yeah, let's start off our brand new Halo game with Season 1 being all throwbacks. Brilliant, 343. Brilliant. Well, it's funny you say that, because it is kind of brilliant. Halo Reach is now a nostalgic classic game. Halo Reach is 11 years old. So, what's really smart about that is luring in people who drifted away from Halo with, like, nostalgia. You know, it's a powerful tool. Like, when you go to the customization screen and you look at your armors, and it's like, I remember seeing these on the 360. Like, it sends chills down my spine. Seeing these armors that I remember from the 360, but so high quality. Like, nostalgia is a powerful drug, and they're using it to fuel purchases. You know, we were talking earlier, if they ever make an AR skin that puts those Halo 3 green lights on the side, unfortunately, I'm probably going to give in. Rest in peace to Vybrid's dono being ignored. Oh no! Was there, oh, there is, I see it. Vybrid, what if we get the entire Halo community to just pretend that there isn't a battle pass? That is a valiant goal, Vybrid. That is an ambitious one. Unfortunately, it's like one of those things right now that, what I can confirm is that the developers internally, they know. So right now, it's not a matter of you guys not being heard. It's a matter of time. As we speak, there are probably meetings happening at 343 about the reception to the game, you know? And I wouldn't be surprised if, like, next Monday is basically... I wouldn't be surprised if something happens next Monday internally where they've, like, we have a week of data from the game, what players are saying. You already have developers on Twitter saying, like, regardless of the progression system, what do you think of the game? So the developers know that we're not happy with it. And unfortunately, it's like one of those things where they can't just right now give us a new progression system. They're going to have to develop one. And that's going to take time. So something actually that would be pretty nice is suggesting temporary stopgaps while they develop this new progression system. Like, start giving them suggestions that are a little bit low effort, kind of like, make a permanent challenge that is like this, and it always gives this amount of XP. Or something like that, you know? They hear us. Trust me. Did you see the new Halo campaign footage from IGN released 6 hours ago? I did see it. I really liked what we saw. What do you think, though? Also, like, the environments were just on point. .343's meetings must look like that one episode of SpongeBob where SpongeBob's brain is shown as an office space, and it's all burning down in chaos. Well, it is interesting. Like, I guess, like, seeing the development perspective of things, because, like, a lot of stuff makes sense, actually. Like, in the community is one way, but the developers see it another way, and it makes a lot of sense, I guess. Well, and I feel for, like, data analysts in the game industry, like sifting through data and stuff like that. And it's also part of why you've probably seen, like, since 2019, hyperbole on my channel has gone way down. I don't just say, like, it sucks, it doesn't look Halo-y, like Halo-y anymore. I mean, I usually describe a thing as looking Halo-y, but I try to explain why I feel that way and stuff, because for analysts, like, the details matter. The more specific you are, matters. Oh boy. It's a bot, so that's why I've got all this breathing room. I am trying to see if I can get a kill. There we go. Yeah, this weapon, I suspect it's been designed for the campaign, not multiplayer. And I think that's okay. Not every weapon needs to be amazing. You know, you need to have, like, those wild card guns where it's like, this thing's a piece of junk. I think I'm going to get some kills with it. If everything is super hyper competitively viable, then I think the sandbox really has no breathing room. Ah! Is this bot gonna... Yep. Snack says it is specifically a poop from a butt. Yep, exactly. What do I think about the vehicle balance? I think it's a little bit too early to tell, but I like the return of the doomed state. I don't really like the aesthetic presentation of the doomed state, but the mechanic of the doomed state I really like. And I'm happy it's back from Halo 2. Sometimes it's fun to go off meta, except when skill-based matchmaking is on. Well, see, even there, with skill-based matchmaking, if you go off of the meta, you're not going to be doing quite as well, right? So you'll probably be ranked with players that are more like that. Like, if you play casually, you'll see more casual players. Something that I do wish, though, is that the skill-based matchmaking system was almost on a playlist-per-playlist basis. I'm not sure if that's the case, but, there is value to skill-based matchmaking systems. And there is definitely downsides if it's too aggressive. Looking at you, Call of Duty. I know Call of Duty is also creepy about its skill-based matchmaking system to the point that it actually tracks how many times you slide in a match. Like, that's pretty creepy, right? I think we're going to do one more match and then I'm done, okay? Do you think that there's potentially room in the sandbox for the sidekick and the magnum? Of course, it all depends on what is on the map, you know? It all depends on the map, because I see a lot of people that are like, that say some things like, there's some people that, so like with weapon roles and stuff, I think it's very important that the base sandbox is established as like, here are the different weapon roles. And from there, you can start to branch out. And you can start to get like a little bit more interesting. And I hope that Halo gets more interesting. So the sidekick and the magnum, they can coexist because you don't need to have both weapons on every map, you know? You don't have to have the sidekick as a starter weapon for some modes. You could have the magnum as a starter modes. Basically, Halo's got to get very creative, I guess, with its sandbox placement. How do you feel about a CE Magnum power weapon? So it's interesting. The idea of power weapons, I actually don't really like categorizing weapons as power weapons, non-power weapons. What I really like is just the weapons being, you know? I like the weapons just existing. Like, I like that the rocket launcher is not, like, a power weapon, just like the sniper rifle. I prefer the rocket launcher and sniper to be two different guns. One is a sniper rifle, the other is a rocket launcher. And kind of like with that kind of like lack of big title, you also get things, I think of like Halo 3's The Pit, where both spawns each have a sniper rifle and each have a shotgun. Like, if it was, you know, the Halo games, I guess, that have more weight to the power weapon concept, you probably wouldn't have stuff like that because people would be saying, well, that's imbalanced. You can't have power weapons at each spawn. Like, don't think of them like power weapons. They're just guns. So the Magnum coming back, I wouldn't call it a power. I just want it to be the Magnum, you know? Now, where would you place the Magnum on the map? Is that bot going to try to bait me with a grenade? No. Oh, the bot just completely lost interest in me. I hope that made sense. Oh, are there super chats that I'm missing? Let me take a look. How many have I missed so far? Music Man says message retracted. Oh no, Music Man. I'm sorry, buddy. What did Music Man say? We've also got Clone Delta who says, I hope we have ODSTs in the campaign and can call them in right on top of a banished base. I also worry AI scavenging weapons will ruin squad building my allies. Something that they could probably do is they could probably have some kind of like under the hood soft lock for the AI behaviors. Like if the player gives the AI a weapon, they're now programmed to not seek out new weapons because like basically the player takes priority. They could do something like that. Like on their own, the AI will seek out their own weapons, but once you interact with them and give them a weapon, then it's not really up to the AI anymore. They have to now stick with the weapon you gave them. Something that could honestly be interesting is if you could fiddle with the level of agency that AIs have. You know, like you can call in dumb Marines, smart Marines, like all of that stuff. Agent Sakura says, last dono for the week. It's going to be a long time before I can actually play Infinite, so watching the gameplay and the like is all I have for now. Agent Sakura, I hope that you are enjoying the gameplay. And I appreciate the donation. I hope that you enjoy yourself, by the way. Big Hoth 98 says, one thing I think would help with the challenges is to fix the vehicle and weapon spawning so that it's not as unpredictable. If I need Banshee kills, I can get a match on a map and know I will get a Banshee, etc. The problem with a system like that, unfortunately, is that you would, it would be training you to essentially, ignore certain playlists. Like, you basically be directing player population away from certain modes as opposed to towards certain modes. I think it's a problem just with the nature of the XP progression system itself. You shouldn't be encouraging people to ignore certain playstyles. It's why in Halo, I really don't like the get X amount of kills with X weapon. Because Halo, by its very nature, is a game where this isn't Call of Duty, where you can make loadouts. This is a game where you are encouraged to seek out different weapons for different situations, right? So forcing a player to essentially like ignore what they are tactically taught and specifically seek out a very unique weapon, like that's not great, you know? it's not great challenge design for Halo. Is there a sandbox or Forge mode? I really miss Forge. Oh boy. So Forge was delayed for half a year. We're not going to see it probably till the summer of last year. Or summer of last year. Man, I wish. The summer of next year, unfortunately. Yeah. It's not great, right? Yeah. Halo Infinite. The core mechanics are solid. The problem right now is the lack of content. There's a severe lack of content in the game, and after all the feedback they got from Halo 5 and its lack of content, the fact that they repeated the mistake is kind of shocking to me. I remember, actually, The Division 2, say what we will, you know, kind of about that game and Ubisoft's, like, lack of support for it. Something interesting about The Division 2 that the developers talked about was one of the core tenets of that game when it began development is players criticized it for a lack of content, the first game. So, boom, immediately, one of the core pillars of The Division 2 was game has to launch with more content. And they mostly met that goal. Division 2 launched with like a ton to do. It was almost overwhelming. With Halo 5, one of the biggest areas of criticism the game got was a lack of content at launch. That feedback was not acted upon, you know? And it's very disappointing. So here, I'm gonna... Yeah, I'll throw this on. Yeah, and the lack of content isn't helped by how slow the progression system is and how grindy it is. And unfortunately, I think it's going to train people to start getting frustrated with the game. A game that is ultimately fun, but because of the game's like stingy progression system, people are going to start to like associate this game with frustration. And I learned that the hard way with Halo 5. You know, when I think back on Halo 5, guys, all I can think about is 1 month without infection, 2 months, 3 months, 4 months, 5 months, 6 months. Like, I just think of waiting for content, waiting for the rest of the stuff. And I don't want... So with Halo Infinite, I am deliberately taking it easy. I'm not going to grind the game, you know? Because what I see here is not a lot. It reminds me of Halo 5, so you know... I've already got the scars from Halo 5, you know, and how burnt out I got on that game. I'm not repeating that with Halo Infinite. So I'm going to enjoy the game, but I'm going to do it at my own pace, and it's going to be a slow pace until the rest of the content that should be here is here. Big Hoth 98 says, one thing I think would help with the challenges is fix the vehicle and weapon spawning so that it's not oh, wait, we already said that. Yeah, we answered that. Here, let me catch up a little bit. I am running on empty. I don't know if you guys can hear. I'm going to get some food. Big Hoth 98 says, I was hiding around my flag yesterday to wait for enemies to take it so I could kill them and then return the flag for a challenge. So I know what you mean. Yeah, it's encouraging you to play wrong. And I almost wonder if I see a lot of people just like not going for objectives and stuff and not cooperating with their team. And I wonder if it's because they're being forced to by the progression system. Because I know if it came between capturing a flag and winning the match or getting that final bulldog kill to mark off a challenge, I'm going to ignore the flag and go for that bulldog kill. Because if I don't know when the next opportunity to get that bulldog kill will come. You know? I think the challenges aren't general enough. Like, have a challenge where you need to get kills with power weapons or earn objective medals. Yeah, they need to become more general, not so specific, like get a kill with X weapons. So, okay, let's start closing this off before I get off, because I am, like, collapsing. I feel like in those Lego Star Wars games, whenever you die, how you just split into, like, 1,000 pieces. I'm starting to feel like that right now. This is the way that I would approach the progression system. I think every single tier of the battle pass, they need to look at how much XP it's going to take. So like this, I think it's like, what, 10,000 XP? They need to go bit by bit by bit by bit and analyze how much XP each part of the battle pass should take and do the math, curate it, and then they need to go into the XP distribution system and they need to start calculating, okay, how much should a flat match XP reward be? How much would a win be? Okay, double kills, how much XP should that stack on top? Triple kills, multi-kills, objective captures, objective assists, and you need to start crunching the numbers, and it needs to be based off of your performance. You know? Because if they just stick with kill an enemy driver of a moving vehicle with a sniper rifle in PvP. Like, if they just start sticking with that, people are going to be playing the game wrong. Kill enemy Spartans with the Cinder Shot in PvP. Like, got it. Okay, I'm not going to go for the flag. I'm going to find a Cinder Shot, and I'm just going to camp until I can get those challenges done. That's basically the way that I would handle the progression system, because challenges should be icing on the cake. They should not be the main driver. Yeah. But how do you guys feel? Also, let's close this up with a few more comments. Benjamin Vetter says, apologies if it's been asked already, but what do you think about the plasma pistol not having the EMP effect? For campaign, I could see that being fun, since that means that, like, your casual grunt can't just, like, stop your vehicle dead in its tracks, like, kind of like Combat Evolved. For multiplayer, I do think that it puts the plasma pistol in an unfortunate spot where its role isn't very well defined anymore now. Because I think the EMP effect existed more for, like, multiplayer's sake than it did single player's sake, but I'd be curious to see how they're going to rebalance it, because they said that rebalancing for the plasma pistol is on the way, so I guess we'll see, you know. I want to see how they rebalance it before I give my final thoughts on it. Did I miss anything? By the way, did I miss any super chats? Do I owe any apologies? All right, guys. Yeah, we're gonna stop the stream now. Okay, my gaslight is on currently in my brain. I need to get some food. I need to take a shower. Need to vegetate for a bit. Let my brain relax. Just passively consume entertainment and let my brain cool off for a bit as it recharges the battery. I hope that this was an entertaining stream for you guys. This was a lot of fun. We had a lot of good conversations. So, yeah, I shall see you guys later. Woof, that was a low energy goodbye. But hopefully you are all empathetic. So, 3 days and I'm at level 6 of the battle pass. And all I had to do was ignore all the objectives. And, headshot an enemy Spartan immediately after damaging them with a grenade in PvP. Alrighty, guys. I shall see you all later, okay? Take care of yourselves, okay? Be hydrated. Drink water. And let me try that again. And I shall